Hey listeners, how are you all? Thank you so much for being our awesome members. Join Patreon if you want lemons, link in the description. There's a lot to come more. Sit tight, be comfy. Put your headphones, now let's begin. One Piece vs. Naruto Shippuden. One Piece. Aya has gotten considerably good at her powers, and this was not known with a lot because they just only passed the Foxy Pirates. It was boring for her because she knew what was going to happen. She and Luffy had gotten very close over the time they've been together. Sometimes the crew thought that they were too annoying, but they seemed perfect for each other. Once in a while, Luffy would surprise Aya with taking her out to Mary's Head at night and see the passing stars above them. Their kisses were tender and passionate. Then came the island that Aya was dreading, the next major part with Robin and Aokiji. Once they were on that island, Aya sped ahead of Chopper to get the first look of Aokiji. "Aokiji," whispered Aya, staring at him as he lay on the ground. One of his eyes opened. Aya, what's wrong?" yelled Luffy. Everyone came running and they stood in front of him. Aya looked over to Robin, and as she saw him, she fell back in fear and told the crew about him. Aya already knew about him and what he was going to do. But then let the part of the other people who got trapped on the island pass by. Soon enough, it was time for the Ice Age that Aokiji would do. You stayed and watched what he did for a second. As it was in the manga, it was done and everyone except Robin and her were amazed. Aokiji started talking to the trapped people while Aya took Robin to the side. "We have to get out of here as fast as we can, Robin," she whispered in her ear. Robin was shaking with fear but nodded a little. "Luffy, I forgot something at the ship. We'll be right back," Aya yelled as she grabbed Robin by the wrist and started sprinting against the shoreline, or should I say ice line, away from everyone else. Cruise time. POV. Everyone watched as the entire ocean turned into the ocean, including the sea monster. "Ooh, so cool," said Luffy with his eyes wide. Nobody could believe the power he had. Though Nami remembered that Aya had probably seen this and looked at her. She was talking to Robin hurriedly as Aokiji told the people which way to go. "Luffy, I forgot something at the ship. We'll be right back," Aya yelled. "Okay," he yelled, grinning back at her. Then, the crew saw as she sprinted along the shoreline. "Why is she running so fast?" wondered Usopp as they all watched her as she got a little farther and farther. Sanji and Zoro wondered this also. "Why is she taking Robin?" asked Sanji. Was something bad going to happen to Robin here? He thought. Sanji looked over at Aokiji and saw he was staring at them as they were running farther and farther away from him. He had a serious look on his face and then bended down with his knees and touched the ground with his hand. He was facing where Aya and Robin were running. "What's he doing?" thought Zoro as he watched Aokiji on the ground. Luffy also wondered what he was doing. Then the whole crew heard him say, "Ice line." Right when he said that, a line of ice sped towards Aya and Robin. Yelled Nami as they all watched the ice going towards them. Aya's and Robin's time. POV. Aya was running as fast as she can from Aokiji and the crew. Robin was panting next to her and her eyes were wide with fear. Suddenly Aya heard crackling coming up from behind them. She looked behind them in fear as a line of ice came towards them. "Shit." Closing parenthesis. "Robin, run," she yelled. The ice was now almost at Aya's feet when it sprouted up from the ground in a spike at her. Aya pushed Robin forward as Aya spun Aru and used the white light as her shield. The ice came fast up to her, and even though she used the shield to stop the ice going from any further, it pierced her right shoulder. She fell back and landed on the ground. The ice had stopped coming and now, it was just the grass that was there. Robin had also stopped running and saw Aya on the ground getting up, holding her shoulder. "Aya," Robin yelled, but she couldn't move as she saw Aokiji get up from the ground. Cruise time. POV. "Robin, run," the crew heard Aya say as she pushed Robin forward. The ice that Aokiji had sent towards sprouted up from the ground and spiked towards Aya. "What?" yelled Sanji. Aya put a white shield up with a wave of her hand, but the spike pierced her shoulder before being crushed by the shield. They heard her as she fell towards the ground. "Aya," yelled Luffy. Robin had stopped running and yelled Aya. Now Aya was getting up and facing Aokiji. "What the hell are you doing?" yelled Sanji at Aokiji. "My job," For justice, Robin has to go. It is not only that she is a danger, but that fact that I let her live before isn't good for the rest of the world. NICO Robin has been part of organizations, including Crocodile, which ha made her even more wanted. For the power that she has, cannot be distributed to more people of her likes. She will only use you and then throw you away. No, no, that's not true, yelled Robin. They all looked at her, she was shaking so much with fear. Why, the past doesn't matter now. She would never betray us, yelled Luffy. That's true, she will never betray us. Even if she is the only survivor of Ohara, she wouldn't use that power for evil. It's only for knowledge, said Aya with a smile on her lips and looking directly at Aokiji. The crew wondered what she was talking about. Ohara, thought Nami. So, you know about her and the kind of power she holds. Aokiji seemed shocked that Aya knew about this. How does she know? Hey, I know everything, from you letting her go, Solo. And more, but believe me, she won't do anything bad with her power. She's not a bad person. Aya yelled. Aya, said Chopper. Zoro had his hand on his sword, ready for anything, so was Sanji and Luffy. Robin looked at Aya with fear. She knew that Aya knew about everything, but this was so much. So, since you know about Ohara and about what I did to the government, you're just as dangerous as Robin. He shifted his blindfold on top of his a little, and then brought his arm up for an attack. Don't you hurt my friends, yelled Robin, and then she put her hands in a cross formation across her crest. Cease fleur, she yelled, and then 6 arms sprouted on Aokiji and holding him. Ararararara, so harsh Robin. Clutch. Suddenly Aokiji turned into ice and was broken into pieces. Ah, he broke into pieces and died, yelled Chopper. But then, the ice started crackling and Aokiji came from it. The whole crew watched as Aokiji emerged back into what he was before. How? Nami's eyes were wide at what this man could do. Robin was still behind Aya and they were opposite side of the crew and him. Ice saber, Aokiji yelled and made a sword out of ice with blades of grass. Then he went for Aya and Robin on the other side, but Zoro stopped him. Now you all know what happens here. Sanji and Luffy also attack and their shoulder knee hand gets frozen and EY are thrown to the ground in front of him. Sorry, too lazy to write it. Luffy, Zoro and Sanji were all on the ground clutching the ice that surrounded their body part. Nami was shocked to see them all taken out at once. Aokiji started walking towards Robin and Aya. You shouldn't interfere, he said as he first approached Aya. Aya made the white light shaped into a sword. Don't get any closer. But what Aya didn't notice was that coming from Aokiji's feet was ice, and it had already made it to her feet. Aya's eyes widened. No, Aya, yelled Nami. The ice was traveling up her legs. She tried to use the white light to go under the ice, but by then the ice had reached her arms. Robin, she tried to say. But then, the ice covered her mouth, and then finally her whole body was ice. Aya, yelled Luffy. Aokiji now was in front of Robin. You shouldn't be here. Then, he fell on top of her, while turning her into ice. No, but then, Robin had turned fully into ice. Now, there, both stood a frozen Aya and Robin. Everyone had no idea how this could happen to their friends. Luffy stood up and looked at Aokiji. No, this can't happen. Robin, Aya. No. Luffy was now severely pissed. Why, he yelled at Aokiji. Don't yell. They are still alive, but fragile. If they break, they're dead. For example, Aokiji brought his arm up. What? Said Sanji and Zoro at the same time. Nami gasped, as did Chopper and Usopp. SSTTOOOPPP. Yelled Luffy as Aokiji started to bring down his punch onto Aya. But, the punch didn't hit. Instead, Luffy got there in time and was holding Aya horizontal to Aokiji. When he saw this, Aokiji brought his foot up to stomp her instead, but then Usopp rushed past and grabbed her and Chopper grabbed Robin, getting away from Aokiji. Usopp, Chopper, bring her to the ship and bring them back, yelled Luffy, who came out from under Aokiji's foot. Then they started running off. Stop it, you wouldn't want that woman on your ship. Neither the other one also, he said and started walking towards them. But then Nami got in front of Aokiji with her climattack Usopp had made for her. I'm sorry, but we need women like them on our ship. Nami was a little shaky but kept herself in front of him. Aokiji grabbed her stick. I'm sorry, but can you please move? And with that he pushed Nami to the side. Nami, yelled Sanji and Zoro. They both started running towards him but Luffy stopped them. Wait you guys. They both stopped and looked back at Luffy who was getting up. I'll go against him. Mano mano. He had a serious look on his face as Aokiji turned back to look at Luffy. At first Sanji and Zoro had no idea what to do, but then nodded and they both ran with Nami towards the ship. Do you think you can really defeat me? Said Aokiji as Zoro and Sanji ran past him. Yay. Then Luffy started to attack. Now I am too lazy to write the action part and more. But basically what happens is Luffy gets defeated but Aokiji doesn't kill him. And then he leaves to tell the headquarters about their whereabouts and Aya. This will give her a bounty. Then Aya and Robin get cured and that's where chapter 2 will start off as. Laughing face. I'm not telling which chapter though, laughing face. Okay well, what do you think? The next chapter is Naruto. And I have already uploaded the document. It's just if you will have at least 5 reviews for this to go on. Coming from the first one and now this is the sequel. Please review. Laughing face. Naruto's side. So here is the second chapter. I didn't think that I would get 5 reviews, but I wanna try 10 before 8 chapter. Is that okay? It'll be nice. Laughing face. So here is the second chapter, on Naruto's side, and a bit on One Piece. Enjoy. Laughing face. Naruto's side. Shikamaru was panting hard after what he had just done. Finally, he had beaten the man who killed Asuma. Hidan had just been tricked by Shikamaru with using his own body's blood and Kakuzu's when stabbing himself. It was a trick that was only pulled off with the help of Kakashi. Shikamaru took a long drag of the smoke he had in his mouth then blew it out, coughing some out. He started wobbling back to where the others were. The others. Kakuzu Yi. LLED is another one of his hearts came out. Now there was only one. But with the 3 in front of me, that'll be enough. He snickered to himself. Kakashi was now having a hard time. When he tried using his cardigan to make Kakuzu go somewhere else, Kakuzu escaped it and it was able to get away from it long enough with Kakashi draining out of power. Kakashi-sensei, yelled Ino. She was a little hurt but wasn't going to give up. Choji then turned into a giant meatball and went towards Kakuzu. He yelled hoping that finally Kakuzu would get taken out, but instead, he was pushed to the side easily and thrown to a tree. He coughed up some blood as he thudded onto the ground. Kakashi was panting from the overpower use he had just gone through. Ha. You idiots are no match for me. Just let me kill you and all your pain will go away. Kakuzu spread all his tentacles forward towards Kakashi and Kakashi tried to move but wasn't fast enough. Suddenly yelling was heard behind Kakuzu and before the tentacles reached Kakashi, Kakuzu was sprawled forward and into a tree. That's what you get, for hurting my friends. Yelled Naruto. Now, in front of Kakashi were Naruto, Hinata, Kiba, and Sakura. Earlier, they heard from Tsunade to go and help them out, and with Naruto's new technique, he was excited for his fight. Naruto, Kakashi, Ino, Choji. Go to the side and rest while we take care of him, said Sakura waving them off to the other side. Kakashi was a bit surprised. He was covering his left eye, still from the pain, and looked at the 4 people in front of them. He knew he should get some rest so he, Ino, and Choji started to move back a bit. I wonder if Shikamaru is doing well. Kakashi thought. Finally they made it to a tree and now Kakuzu's attention was on Naruto, Kiba, Hinata, and Sakura, though looking at Kakashi and the others for any traps and then on how to kill them all in the end. You know, you'll all end up just dying, he snickered as he started attacking them again. Sakura punched him, but he dodged right as it passed his head and it smashed into a tree, knocking it down. Then Kiba and Akamaru attacked at once. Gatsuga. Kiba yelled as they did a fearsome attack on Kakuzu. They spun so close to him but then missed getting attacked by one of his tentacles and thrown to the side. Kiba yelled at the impact. Next was Hinata's turn. She looked at Kakuzu through the Byakugan and saw as Kiba was thrown to the side. Now, just before he turned around to face her and Naruto, Hinata started attacking the Tentak. Less of Kakuzu's body and trying to get closer. She could see his last beating heart through his chest and was getting closer. She panted as the tentacles became thicker and more covered with blood as she was hitting them to the side. But as she was so close to hitting him, she missed a tentacle and it pierced her upper right shoulder, making her fall back. She skidded to a halt on the ground and looked up. It seemed as if he was getting bloodthirsty for her and had all his tentacles coming at her. Hinata shut her eyes, but suddenly a bright light came from behind him and Kakuzu dodged just in time to miss Naruto's Rasengan. Gah! He yelled, annoyed yet hurt. This was the first time he had used this technique in battle, so it was putting much more pain on him than he realized. Naruto Street. Oohed over Hinata as Kakuzu stared at him and at Kakashi and the others behind him. So, that's your new technique, lame. He snickered as Kakashi's, Hinata's and Naruto's eyes widened. All of his tentacles came at once towards Naruto and went though his body like being torn through a piece of paper. Hinata looked up shakily as some blood drops came down. Nah, Naruto. There he stood with his mouth gaping open and the tentacles though him. Naruto! Yelled Kakashi and he started bringing out his Sharingan again. I have to get rid of this guy. But then, something felt weird to Kakuzu and they all saw his face a little screwed up. Then yelled was heard from behind him. I'll teach you to hurt anyone. Yelled Naruto and you could see the spiky Rasengan in his hand revolving fast. Before Kakuzu could do anything though, it had already plummeted though his body, and then at last tearing out his heart. He spit out some blood as finally Naruto landed on the ground clutching his arm in pain but looked up to see the struggling Kakuzu on the ground. But before he could say anything, Kakuzu fell on the ground limp, and was finally dead. Naruto smiled a bit as he went on his knees and feel the pain going up his arm like 100 needles stabbing themselves into him all at once. Kiba got up and so did Sakura. They walked toward Naruto and Hinata. That was a pretty cool technique, said Kiba holding out a hand for Naruto. He smiled and took it, bringing himself up. They could hear a faint rustling sound and then emerged Shikamaru holding his shoulder and smoking, but seemed like everything was okay. You seem to have done good also, he said as he looked down at Kakuzu's body. Naruto was triumphant in his new technique and Hinata was glad. Sakura noticed that Kakashi was having a hard time with his eye, so went over to him. Kakashi, are you okay? He looked at her worriedly and then closed his eye with pain. Sakura. The Sharingan. To Kakashi, it felt like it was prodding itself out. It was forcing itself out of his body. No, it must stay in. It wasn't that the eye was pushing out, but the gate to a parallel dimension was. Why is this happening? Sakura was getting more worried by his look when Kakashi couldn't hold it in anymore. His hand let go from his eye and the dimension came up again. Kakashi. Sakura had no idea what was going on, but it seemed he had lost control over the Sharingan. The Sharingan was staying in one place, but that place wasn't good. It was right next to Hinata, who was lying on the ground as she tried to get up and get away from it. Hinata, yelled Naruto. She tried to get away but then felt herself being sucked in, and before going, Naruto jumped in after her to hold on, only letting himself being dragged in also. Naruto, Hinata, yelled Kiba and Shikamaru. They started running towards the hole and threw themselves at it, trying to get Naruto's hand that was the only thing left out of it. Kiba went first and then held onto Shikamaru's hand. But instead they were slipping in. Finally Sakura got up and grabbed Shikamaru's hand, pulling him out a little. To him, it felt like his arm was being bitten off by a monster. Sakura, yelled Kakashi as then he saw he with her eyes wide suddenly vanish into the hole. Sakura, Shikamaru, yelled Ino. She was getting up and was about to go in when Kakashi put his hand up in front of her. Stop, Ino, I'll go. Tell Tsunade that I and the others have gone to another dimension for the while. We will try to get back as soon as possible. Though I have no idea this dimension is, it will be one that I cannot have too many people go into. Got that? Kakashi started to go forward as the hole got smaller. Kakashi, said Choji looking at him as one foot went through. Don't worry, we'll be back soon enough. he said with a little smile as he disappeared, and so did the whole. Ino and Choji sat there for a minute staring at where Kakashi and the others just were. But then nodded at each other and then started running back to Konoha to tell Tsunade about what has happened. The Dimensions view. Naruto could hear everyone screaming above him as they went into a pitch-black hole. No one could see each other until a sudden burst of light came at them and they felt like they were flying through air. "Ah!" yelled Sakura. Naruto could now see everyone pinning in the air and then looked down at what they were coming closer and closer to. He could see now that it was a wide ocean and on it was a small ship. Now Naruto was also yelling at the fact that they were going to crash into the ocean at any second. They got closer and closer to the water and Naruto saw that there was someone swinging on a white rope, and soon he came face to face with that person, recognizing her in for a split second before crashing into her, and then into the ocean with everybody else. Ah, a cliffhanger. Sorry about that, but for more chapters, more reviews make it come out faster. Also, I have up to the 4th chapter pre-written, so yay, the rest is up to the mind at the moment, though I have about 5 other stories going on at the same time. XD, so, yay. Hope you enjoyed this chapter. Here are some notes to my reviewers. Laughing face. Jigoku Shouju. Thanks for reviewing. I have some ideas, and I'll see if it goes. Some of your ideas are good too. I'll see to them. XD, then X for the compliment. XD, but how would I call you? Haha. XD. Tomas drove in. Hey, yes, this is my story's sequel. Yes, though the story is still processing in my mind. I hope it turns out good. XD, haha. Thanks for your review. Laughing face. Kamium 714. Thanks, and here is your update. The next one will come soon. Fell. So, I'm not getting that many reviews, but a lot of faves are nice. Laughing face, and for those that review, you're the best. Laughing face. Okay, well. Here's the next chapter. Number 4 will take some time because I just started to write that, and it's a bit confusing, so thanks. Laughing face. Since you went into the One Piece world, you found out you couldn't swim, incident at the Foxy Pirates, and also you posses the light fruit in their world. While in Naruto, you just had a very special power, so yay, you shoal. D know that you're a hammer in the water. Fell. The past couple of days started to dwindle. It was a weird feeling for the crew when they had seen Robin, and Aya frozen, and then their captain also. When Chopper tended to them, they didn't know what would happen if it came for the worst. But luckily, it hadn't and they had all survived. Thank God, said Usopp wiping his head. Hey, Zoro smirked. Hey, all slept good thinking of how the next day would be. The room Chopper had put them in had 3 beds close and they were all sleeping soundly. Luffy had somehow moved closer to Aya and wrapped his arms around her though. Robin smiled seeing this. She was awake and thought of what had happened that day. Will it still go on? She thought, but then decided it was time for her to sleep and finally did. The crew was hanging around when they saw Luffy come out with Aya hanging around his neck. They both looked at everyone sleepily, until they both brightened up at the same exact moment. Hey everyone, they yelled and then jumped down to the deck. The crew smiled and realized that now they had finally gotten back to their normal selves. Only Robin was sleeping that day and decided not to come out. Sanji brought Aya hot chocolate and a piece of pineapple cake that was delicious. Thank you Sanji, said Aya. Sanji felt praised and started spinning in circles with hearts in his eyes. You're welcome Aya-chan, he said back. Suddenly Luffy appeared behind Aya, dipped his finger into the frosting of Aya's cake and licked it. Tasty. Sanji, I want one too. Luffy whined but Sanji kicked him in the face instead. You won't get one if you take someone else's. Aya laughed as Luffy rubbed his head and then Sanji went off into the kitchen to get a piece of cake for Luffy. Finally he came out and Luffy took it, going to the Going Mary's head and eating on it. Aya sat there for the next couple of minutes looking around at everyone and at the ship also. I remember, when they get rid of this ship, when Usopp leaves, when Robin leaves, Frankie, I know it all. But should I tell them? After an hour of sitting there, she heard a door open above them and then the whole crew looked to see who it was. Standing there was Robin, wearing a long purple sweater as a dress. Robin, said Nami happily. Everyone smiled as she said thanks and Sanji offered her some coffee, which she gladly took. Then she went into the kitchen where Sanji also gave her a piece of cake. Aya was bored, yet anxious. There was nothing yet something to do. She knew she should get prepared for the Eni's lobby, but how would she get prepared? She kept thinking this over and over until she heard someone slam their hand onto the table and Aya looked to see who it was. Nami was standing over her with a curious and evil grin on at the same time. "What?" you said nonchalantly. "I've just been curious. You've been quiet these past 2 days. And when we were at the island before, it seemed like you knew about Robin and tried to take her away before anything happened. You looked surprised at how much Nami already knew, but you thought you should tell her." "Okay. Well, I don't think I can tell you, but to give to a heads up. Get ready for the worst thing yet. Keep walking around this ship, say hi to everyone, and don't distrust Robin." You tried to tell them in a way to remember this ship, to get ready for fighting. To not think of Robin as a bad person when she left Usopp more before he quits, even though he joins again. Nami looked puzzled at this and then walked away back to the railing. You noticed that Zoro was looking at you from the corner of his eye. And you turned to look at him while he pretended to be asleep. You sighed, walked over to him, and then knocked him in the head. What the hell was that for? He yelled, getting up and looking straight at you. For eavesdropping ass. You snickered as he started to run after you. Ha ha ha, like you can catch me. Then you made a rope T of the white light and had it reach to the mast, wrapping it around it, and then take you up into the air swinging. You yelled as you started to sway back and forth. Sanji had come out T to see the end of Zoro chasing you and started a fight with Zoro about how to never chase a lady. You shitty swordsman, he yelled as they kept dodging each other's swords and legs. Ooh, Aya, I want to try, yelled Usopp in delight, and then Chopper did too. Luffy then saw you and stars came in his eyes. Aya, he yelled smiling, and you smiled back at all of them while flipping in the air and catching the rope. You made the white light travel down the mast and create 3 more ropes to each of them while swiftly passing them. Don't fall into the water, any of you, said Nami, leaning on the railing watching what was going on. Robin came out and was sitting on the deck reading a book but smiling at hearing your yells. Ah, yelled Usopp as if he was Tarzan. You were all flipping in the air with the exception of Chopper because he was too afraid and just swung back and forth high into the air. While you were swinging in the air back and forth, you heard some people yelling above you. You looked up as you started to see black shadows in the air above you. You squinted your eyes and now everybody could hear the yelling and were looking up. What the hell is that? Aid Zoro looking at the 6 figures that were starting to appear. Aya was now under them and could see them clearer until one was totally clear and you realized who it was at the last second, before he crashed right into you. Naru. You were cut of as he fell and with you under him, both crashing into the water. The force let all the air out of your lungs and you looked up to see more crashes land in the water around you. You looked and saw Hinata, Kiba, Sakura, Shikamaru, and then Kakashi hit and go down, but then start swimming up. You tired but then remembered you couldn't swim in this world. You looked up desperately to Naruto whose eyes were closed and were slowly blinking open. You hoped he would see you sinking and help you. Your lungs were burning now. Finally you saw him blink rode and then look down at you while he was floating in place. You widened your eyes hoping he would get to you, mouthing help even as water was rushing into your body. And finally, you saw him start to swim down after you. Then, he caught you, put one arm around his shoulders, and brought you up to the surface with the others. You gulped in the air as you were brought above the water. Crew's time, Naruto Shippuden's time. POV. The crew was hanging and playing around when they saw someone crash into Aya from the sky and pummel toward the ocean. Of course as she did, her ropes went away and Usopp, Luffy, and Chopper all fell to the ground hard. They then saw 5 more splashes in the water and rushed over to the railing. Slowly, shadows were coming up and 5 people came out of the water. Luffy looked around for Aya but it wasn't for a couple of seconds when they heard someone come up holding Aya and she was gulping for air. Aya-chan, are you okay? Sanji yelled over the railing. Aya, Luffy yelled after. She looked up at them and smiled, dazed from the water. She looked tired and didn't even look at the face of the person carrying her while he got out of the water with his chakra. You bastard. Give Aya back or. Luffy was cut off when he saw the familiar old face of his friend. Naruto, he said, and Naruto looked up. Luffy, he yelled happily. The crew then looked at everyone else around them and recognized them easily. Oi, Luffy, everyone, said Kiba waving. He was holding his dog up by the collar that had somehow gotten in the portal with him. Aya moaned from the water. Is Aya okay? Said Sanji worriedly. Ooh, you guys can float on water. Sanji punched Luffy in the head. Oi, you should care more about Aya. No, I'm okay. Aya was just about to get out of Naruto's grip when she realized that she was on water again. But Naruto caught her before she fell in. Thanks. Naruto only smiled and then jumped onto the ship, along with everyone else. The water was thrown onto everyone when Akamaru shook it off. Ha, said Aya, getting up and using support from the railing to look at everyone. Hello Aya, said Naruto looking at her. Naruto, she yelled as she pounded him with a hug. He laughed as he hugged back and she got off. So, how are you? Asked Aya. Naruto and everyone looked uneasy. I think we should first see how they got here. Aya, said Robin, who was getting up from reading. Yay, funny story about that, said Sakura, nodding. She looked to the side and saw Sanji with hearts in his eyes as he spun over to her. Why don't we talk it over some tea and cake? He asked her. Everyone agreed and they walked up to the kitchen, where they all sat and Sanji made them cake and tea. There, they began their talk. Okay, well, at the moment I am too lazy to say thanks to each person, so I'm saying thanks to all for reviewing. Please review for this one and more. Laughing face, if I made any sort of mistakes, sorry. I'll try and make the next chapter come fast. Laughing face. Sleepless. Sorry for the delay. It took me a while to figure out what was going to happen in this chapter, and yesterday I was like, let's go with it. So here is the next chapter. And I hope you enjoy. Read on. P.S. Random review replies at the bottom. Sleepless. Whoa, did all that really happen? Said Aya, amazed. Ah, said Kiba, wondering why Aya, Chopper, Luffy, and Usopp all had stars in their eyes. But, did that really happen to you? Asked Naruto, sounding interested. The stars went out of Aya's eyes but not the others. Yay, there was the guy and he froze us. You wanna see something like it? Said Luffy, excited. Yay. Naruto got up, also excited. Yay, another skit, said Chopper and Usopp happily. All of them ran outside, with Kiba and his dog also following them in interest. Sana, what should we do now? Asked Sakura as she looked at Kakashi. I don't have enough power to bring us back at the moment, it takes a lot of power and time for me to be able to use the Mangekyo, at least that's what I think it is, please don't kill me if it isn't. Sharingan. So until that comes, we are stuck here, said Kakashi, sighing at this. He was actually slightly amused that this was happening. He also wondered something else more sinister. If this is where my eye leads, then, is this where all the enemies of thought are? He thought this over in his head. When he had tried to use it on Kakuzu, he wasn't thinking where it would lead, just that it would take him away from Konoha and into a different dimension. Suddenly, cries from the others outside telling them to come out interrupted his thoughts. You guys come out quick, yelled Luffy. They all looked at the door curiously before getting up and going outside, only to see Naruto, Kiba, Usopp, Chopper, Akamaru, and Luffy all staring out into the sea. Kakashi-sensei, there's a frog out there doing the crawl stroke. He yelled. What? There's no such thing as that, he said, going up to them. Aya just laughed as she made her way to the railing to look out into the ocean. Luffy, stop joking around, there's no such thing as a, there is. The who? The crew watched as in the light distance, a frog was doing a crawl stroke. Let's chase after it, yelled Kiba, Luffy, and Naruto in excitement. Ah, yelled the whole crew. They each got an oar, getting on to swing after it. Get the meat, yelled Luffy. Aya started laughing hard. If that all you think about? Asked Nami as they started to close onto the frog. She sighed as she took out a pair of binoculars and looked ahead. Why is there a lighthouse here? She wondered. Robin looking in the same direction. Ah, he flew, yelled Luffy as the frog jumped out of the water. Keep chasing him, yelled Luffy hungrily as they did. But suddenly, the ship collided with something, making it come to a hard stop, everyone holding onto something to steady themselves. What the hell was that? Asked Naruto as he rubbed his head. What's that ringing noise more like it? Asked Sakura. They whole crew and team all were silenced as a bell came closer to them. Oh shit, said Aya with wide eyes. Aya? Asked Sanji warily. Nami. Dash quote. Get us off now. Turn 180 degrees starboard, she yelled desperately. They all started to freak out. No one knew what it was, but then they saw what Lu Ked like an unstoppable boat with steam coming out. They all started to freak out. What the hell is that? Yelled Sanji. Ah, everyone yelled as they each took an oar and started taking themselves off the track. Hurry, yelled Nami scared, and as soon as they were about to collide with the ship, they moved out of the way just in time. Wait, the frog, yelled Chopper. Oi frog, get out of the way, yelled Naruto desperately. He was about to jump out of the boat when something white around his foot kept him from going. Aya, he yelled, but she didn't look at him as she held him there. Frog, yelled Luffy in their last attempt, but it didn't work as the frog was then hit by it. They all gaped as the streaming boat kept going and the frog just fell into the water. Soon, the steaming boat went by. The pirates and ninjas all afraid yet curious about the strange object. Abasan pirates, yelled a little girl from behind everyone who was on the ground. Oh, this is bad, said Zoro. Chimney, what did you say? Pirates, huh? An old, rather large woman came out holding a bottle of what was most likely alcohol before she fell to the ground. A Dunkard, said Usopp and Kiba together. Soon, the crew and ninjas all told Konkoro, finding out that that was the old woman's name, that they weren't train robbers. Oh, okay, well then that's good. This means that you are on your way to Water 7, yes? She asked, sitting in an cross-legged position. What's Water 7? Asked Sakura wondering, with Shikamaru next to her. It's the next island on the Grand Line, a dangerous yet fulfilling spot to stay at, she said. Chimney, what was that steaming ship that passed by us before? Asked Nami. Ah, that scared the shit out of us there, said Sanji quietly. Oh, you've never heard of it? It's called the Puffing Tom. It's a sea train. It runs on steam powers paddles that keep revolving to make it go forward. Ooh, so it's a mystery ship, said Luffy with sparkles in his eyes. Everyone's sweat dropped. Konkoro, do you know how far away Water 7 is? Asked Aya. She had seemed to forget how long it took them to get there. It's about a day away. And it's a main spot for shipwrights. They help repair anyone's ship if they need it, even pirates. Really? Asked Usopp happily. Yep, you should start sailing now too. Puffing Tom may come back, so it is easier for you to go now, said Konkoro. Ah, thank you, Abasan, said Luffy as he jumped back onto the ship, everyone else following him. Okay, put the sails up, turn 90 degrees port and sail straight ahead, yelled Nami. Hi, the crew yelled. Naruto, Kiba, Sakura, Shikamaru, have you ever helped with a ship before? Asked Nami. She had noticed that Kakashi was helping with the sails, meaning that he already had experience. Yay, thought not a lot, and it was a pretty long time ago, said Naruto. The other three nodded. Okay, well, if you watch the others, you'll see how it's done so you can help out also, alright? She said kindly. Okay, they all said. Aya sighed as she helped turn the boat 90 degrees and then just let the ship sail on ahead. Her mind was getting more and more cramped as they got closer and closer to Water 7. She leaned against the railing, putting her elbows on it as she sighed. A tap came lightly on her shoulder, causing her to turn around and look at Shikamaru. Aya, can I ask something? He said, chewing on a stick from God knows where. Aya nodded. I remember on how you said you see the future because in your world, we had something called an episode, yes? Aya nodded again, wondering where this was going. Well, from your facial features, it seems like something is wrong. Will something bad happen at this, Water 7? He asked. Now she knew where he was at. She sighed as she looked down. There is something going to happen, and ever since you guys came it's been getting harder. In where I was from, this never happened. Though I'm not saying that I want you to go away. She smiled lightly before rubbing her forehead. I think I should get some sleep, she said, somehow getting extremely tired. Shikamaru nodded and stepped aside as Aya walked past him. She walked past the others. Sakura, who was excitedly exchanging medical information with Chopper, Sanji giving Nami and Robin a snack, Naruto, Kiba, and Usopp all playing with Akamaru, Kakashi sleeping in the corner. And Zoro training in the back. Aya, where you going? Luffy had come in front of her smiling widely. I'm just a little tired, I'm gonna sleep for a while, Luffy pouted before sliding his arms around her waist. Are you sure you don't wanna play? Akamaru is so much fun when he is bigger, said Luffy. Akamaru isn't big, he's muscular. Kiba yelled at the couple. Aya laughed, as Luffy pulled her a little closer, giving him a pure puppy look. But it wasn't his best and she just nuggied him nose to nose. Sorry Luffy, I'm really tired, she said, chuckling lightly. Luffy sighed. Okay, but come out in time for dinner, okay? He said as he kissed her sweetly. Aya nodded as he let go of her and made his way back to the others. Aya went to her room, shared with Nami and Robin, got into her bed, and slept. Trying not to think about the worst things that were about to come. It was dinner and Aya still hadn't come. Is Aya all right? Asked Sakura. Luffy was pouting on the other side of the table as he ate a leg of meat in one bite. Yay, I checked on her already, she's sleeping, said Robin smiling. I wonder what's that bad to make her act differently, said Usopp sadly as he ate. Well, whatever it is, we better be prepared, said Zoro. The crew and the others did a silent nod as they finished and ate their food. Sanji, are you doing the watch tonight? Nami asked. Yay, he said, and Usopp nodded before leaving. Sakura, we can make some room for you, said Nami to Sakura. Oh, really? Okay, thanks. Sakura smiled as she followed Nami and Robin out of the room. One of you guys can have my bed, said Sanji to Kakashi, Naruto, and Kiba, referring to his hammock. Are you sure? Asked Kakashi. Ah, was Sanji's simple reply, as long as you don't mess it up. Okay, I call it, yelled Naruto, springing up only to be punched back down by Kiba. Give it up, Naruto. Kakashi needs it more than any of us. The boys in the room looked at Kakashi. Thanks you, Kiba. Ah, that means I have to sleep on the floor, said Naruto, annoyed. Don't be so bad about it. You've done it many times in the woods, said Kiba, hitting him in the back. Okay, we'll show you where the room is, said Zoro, getting up with a yawn. Chopper and Luffy followed after him as the three ninjas followed their guidance. Soon, the night had come and left Sanji the keeper of it. He looked across the ocean, a blanket around him as he thought of what Aya had seen before to make her act differently. All he didn't know was the horrors it could do with the more of them there. Okay, so here was the story. I have to say, to me, this was a bit of a boring chapter, but there should be more action coming and listens to music and tries to fit it with the story's XD, so please Revy. EU, and then next chapter will come out soon, laughing face. Just some random replies. Kamium 714, thanks for the review. Here is your update, laughing face. Thomas drove in. Sorry for taking long XD. Ideas are hard to find. Haha, thanks for the review, laughing face. Swords Girl 96, you're welcome. Yes, I think this one will be longer, since it's harder to add to the Enies Lobby arc XD, thanks, laughing face. Nova Salvador. Did you get what you wanted? Well, if it isn't really, the next one should have action in it. Be excited XD. Jigoku Shouju. Hey, well yes, it took a while, but here is chapter 4. And I have a bit of chapter 5 in my mind, so it's Bree. Wing like an iPod XD. I am not really a baseball fan, I am more into soccer, Brazil, Manchester United, Spain, France, etc., but if I had to choose, well, I am more of a Yankees fan if I had to choose, so Cubs. Captured. Aru. Sorry for taking such a long time. I still have to make my cosplay for the very first con I am going to, laughing face. And we had to make my friends first. She's Rukia and I'm NICO Robin. Hehe XD, I can't wait. And then, we ended up listening to techno music and dancing XD. It was awesome yet tiring, hehe. But, Here is the next chapter. I have about 56 minutes before. Captured. The morning came quick and everyone was now awake. The island was now in the distance. Yay, I can see the island, said Luffy excitedly. Yay, said Chopper and then Luffy, Chopper and Usopp all in unison, Nar. Yuto then joining them did the candy cane on the deck. Aya laughed as she made her way next to Nami who was looking out towards the island. So, what do you think is going to happen there? Asked Aya. I don't know, but with it as a shipwright's capital, it must be really good, especially with pirates. And also, it's good that we have enough gold to repair this ship, said Nami thinking, one arm AC. Ross her chest while the other on her chin. Aya, you wanna play? Asked Shikamaru. He held up a pack of cards and Sakura and Kakashi were behind him smiling. Okay. Aya happily bounded over to them as Luffy, Usopp, Naruto, Kiba and Chopper had also joined them, now having it turn into one huge game of cards. Akamaru was next to Zoro, both ironically, sleeping. Robin was sitting down in a chair, reading a book, and Nami stood still. Still looking at Aya, she knew that there was something wrong with her, but she couldn't place what. Just now, when she was talking to Nami, Nami noticed that she wasn't really happy. It was like a fake happiness at that moment. Though looking at her now with the others, it was hard to tell. Nami Swan, would you like anything to drink? Sanji asked her, more gentlemanly than crazy. Sanji-kun, arigato, she said as he went off to get her a drink. Nami then decided to put the island in front of her now first, wanting to get the outlay of it before tea. He landed on it and had no idea where to go. XX. Ah Shikamaru, why are you so damn good? Asked Naruto. His head was creased as if thinking extremely hard as he looked at his cards. Hey, experience Naruto, I have time to do this, said Shikamaru back to him. Well, I'm training to become the next Hokage. And I will, said Naruto growling back at Shikamaru. He laughed. Okay, hit. Shikamaru let go of all his cards, showing them face up for everyone else to see, and then watched them all place down their cards and moan in frustration. Why Shikamaru? Damn you, said Kiba before chuckling. I don't know if I have it, said Luffy scratching his head. What do you mean Luffy? He beat us all with 4 queens, nothing can beat that, said Usopp. But Luffy's eyes furrowed. Akashi was sitting next to Luffy and moved over so he could see Luffy's cards. His eyes widened a little. Luffy. He sounded almost speechless as he looked at them. Kiba's and Sakura eyes widened also. He didn't, said Sakura in surprise. No one has beaten him before, said Naruto. To them, it seemed like the Big Bang just happened even if they don't know about it XD. Luffy then slowly started to put all the cards down. And once they were, everyone gasped, and Kakashi laughed. Ha 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 ha, you guys should learn that he couldn't have won at all, said Kakashi as he got up. I knew it, there was no way he could have kings or aces. They are already spread out here. Shikamaru let out a sigh of relief as everyone else fell backwards anime style. I'll kill you Kakashi, said Naruto out of annoyance. You didn't even win, said Shikamaru as Sakura held him back and then punched him to calm him down. I don't get it, said Luffy, staring down at the pile of cards. It's okay Luffy, let's leave it that way, said Aya patting him on the back and laughing as she got up and helps Luffy up. It's better that way, mumbled Usopp to Chopper. Meh, Luffy whined as he went to Sanji to ask for a snack when Nami called out. Everyone, get ready for the anchor. Zoro, Sanji, Naruto, Kiba, Luffy, Shikamaru. All the men nodded and went to their positions. They were now close to the shore and Zoro had let down the anchor. Naruto, Kiba, and Shikamaru had jumped off the ship, ran on the water to the land, and then with their chakras they brought the ship closer, but not too close to have it on the shallow side of the water. The crew sighed as the ship finally stopped and Usopp had let down a ladder, though they just jumped back on the ship. Monsters, mumbled Usopp. Naruto just laughed. Just wait and we can teach you to jump like that. Usopp seemed scared though a teeny bit excited for this. Okay, I guess we can explore, said Nami. She had now changed into a white shirt, blue miniskirt, blue tie, and blue sandals. First we should find a ship, right? Yelled Usopp. Nami sighed. Okay, Usopp, Luffy, and I will go turn the gold into cash and get the ship fixed. Would any of you guys like to come? She asked the ninjas. I'll come, said Sakura. Okay, and you guys, said Nami to them. Well, I want to find some information, said Kakashi in his full uniform now and rubbing his chin. Chopper and I want to go to a bookstore, Ninja-san, would you like to come? Asked Robin smiling. She had now a black mini dress, and long black boots that went up to her thighs, leaving a small space between her dress and legs exposed. Sure, Kakashi said smiling. I want to go too, said Aya waving her arms in the air. Okay, Sanji, said Nami curiously. I'll go with Robin-chan. They may have some spices on the way there that I might find of interest, said Sanji, shifting his tie a little. We'll explore, said Naruto happily. Yay, it's okay, we'll come back here 8. Asked Kiba. Meet back here at any time before 8, but by then, be at the ship to make sure everyone is okay, got it? Said Nami. Everyone nodded and then looked at Zoro. He sighed. I'll guard the ship, he said yawning. Okay then, we can go, Usopp, Luffy. Nami yelled at them, and then all of them started to walk forward towards the hill, where behind it was a town full of wonders, and just looking up at the fountain made them dizzy. Soon, each of them learned the maneuvering ways of the bulls, and the outlays of the town. Luffy wanted to take the king bull, but Nami instead got the Yagara bull for everyone to go with. Excitement was everywhere as they each then left in their own direction. Aya, though, very confused and scared about what was soon, terrifyingly soon, going to happen. Naruto, Kiba, and Shikamaru had each gotten their own boat. Akamaru was sitting behind Kiba and having the air hit him, letting his tongue float out as he did. Oi, Naruto, I'll race you, said Kiba. You're on, said Naruto confidently. Kiba and Naruto then both looked at Shikamaru. He sighed. Okay, might as well have as much fun as we can, said Shikamaru. The three turned onto another lane and looked around. Okay, the first one to the top of the town is the one who wins, said Kiba, who pointed to the top. They all looked up. How do we get up there though? Asked Naruto, scratching his head. Remember, there are 2 elevators town. You can take that, or find some other way, said Kiba mischievously. Okay, but we can't do too much damage, okay, said Shikamaru. But Naruto and Kiba didn't listen to him. Ready, said Kiba. Shikamaru sighed. Set, he said, Akamaru getting into a position behind him. Go. They all set off at a frightening pace, their Yagara bulls also getting hyped up about the race. Yelled the bulls as they raced through the alleyways. There's no way you are going to win, Naruto, yelled Kiba, laughing, and Akamaru barked. Oh yay, how could I, who will become Hokage, not win? Yelled Naruto, and then that's when things started to get interesting. Naruto used his chakra to speed up the bull, and also making the bull get excited. Soon, Kiba and Shikamaru were next to him and they were all racing. Not paying attention to each other, they suddenly all turned in different directions. Naruto turned right, Shikamaru left, and Kiba going straight ahead. Oi, where are you going? Yelled Naruto to his bull, but the bull yelled and sped faster, soon turning again and going straight to the middle. Naruto smiled. Great job, bull, he said as He raced to the middle, which would lead them to the top. Kiba had smiled as he watched the others turn and he and Akamaru going straight ahead. Good job, Yagara, let's beat them to the top. Kiba's Yagara bull yelled and speed forward. They all went to the elevator, but their bulls were thinking something else. Naruto, Kiba, and Shikamaru smiled. Good Yagara, they all yelled. Suddenly, each of their bulls jumped out of the water and onto the side of the elevator instead of inside it. Sir, someone yelled, but neither of them heard her. Even Shikamaru was into this. Now they were skimming the wall of the elevator. The top in their sight. Their charkas under the bulls and propelling themselves upward. Soon, they could each see each other on the sides. No way you're gonna win, Naruto, yelled Kiba. Wanna find out, Kiba, said Naruto full of energy. TCH, said Shikamaru, a confident smile on his face. None of them were aware at the stares coming from the people below as they reached the top. Now, They each flew over the edge at exactly the same time, each trying to read for the same water path to see who would make it first. RRRBB bara! Yelled Naruto as he smashed into the water. Water enveloped him as the Yagara yelled in victory and Naruto bounced up and down. Ha, I win, bastards! Yelled Naruto as he pointed at Shikamaru and Kiba. Well, at least I was second, said Shikamaru chuckling. Damn you, Naruto, mumbled Kiba as he looked around the wide open river. Ha 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 ha, free money, yelled a man with a blue jacket, orange shirt, and blue pants while holding up a suitcase of what were probably money. Oi, give us back our money, yelled Sakura, Luffy and Nami steaming. Luffy, Nami, Sakura, asked Shikamaru looking them. Shika, get the money, Nami yelled with a devil's face on. Okay. Shikamaru jumped off his Yagara, flipping in the air as he landed on the boat. Huh, who the hell are you, bastard? Said the man hugging the suitcase. But Shikamaru just sighed as he took the suitcase out of his hands, and then took the man's collar and jumped next to Luffy and Nami. Thank you, Shika, said Nami as she ran up to him, stole the money away and basically hugged it. Since when did you start calling me Shika? He said, annoyed as Naruto and Kiba jumped over next to him, the bulls going away to wander till they are called back when needed. Nami just ignored him too. So Pigeon Man, who are you? Asked Luffy. They all looked to the man with shoulder-length wavy hair, a black top hat, white wife beater, and brown shorts. Brr, Lucci, said the pigeon. Everyone looked at the man like he was crazy. Stupid pigeon, said Kiba. Ooh, the pigeon talks, said Luffy with stars in his eyes, but then Luffy eyed the pigeon, but it is an evil pigeon. He said annoyed. Brr, Polly, Lucci, god damn it, what the hell? XX, Aya, Robin, Chopper, Sanji and Kakashi were all walking along the sidewalk, Sanji talking with Robin in front, Chopper next to them, and Kakashi and Aya in the back. I will make you luscious foods, Robin. Sanji was cut off with yells of amusement and 3 bulls speeded past them in the water. Ah, what the hell, you almost got Robin, CHWANN. Wet, yelled Sanji with fury in his eyes. Robin laughed lightly. Was that Naruto, Kiba, and Shikamaru? Asked Chopper looking after where the bulls went. Kakashi sighed. Yep, I hope EY don't get themselves into too much trouble though, he said rubbing his eye. Haha, I don't think they will, but they do seem to be having fun, Aya said. Everyone followed her eyes and they saw them skimming up the elevator's sides. Sanji's sweat dropped. Yep, he said, and they continued on walking. Why is everyone wearing masks? Asked Chopper as he looked around. Because it's a festival of the masks day today, said a man who was selling some. Get 2 and buy the 3rd free. No, it's okay, maybe later, said Kakashi. The man looked at him curiously. Oh, okay, so, mask festival, huh? Said Sanji. That sounds cool, I want to get one later, said Chopper excited. Robin laughed. Okay, Chopper, let's get you one after the bookstore. Robin Kwan is so cute when she offers something, said Sanji with hearts in his eyes. Kakashi looked at Aya, who seemed to be looking around with wonder in her eyes. How are you, Aya? Kakashi asked. Good, it's just a wonder at how I am here in real life. Like, compared to my world, this is miraculous. She smiled a wide grin similar to Luffy's and Kakashi smiled from under his mask. She has seemed to forget about the problems she has had before. He thought, and he watched as her eyes got bigger at the different masks also. It was all so cool to Aya, until something made her want to scream. There, coming in their direction, she knew was Bluno. He was wearing a checkered orange and white cape along with a checked orange and white mask. Aya's eyes went to Robin, who was now alone with Sanji and Chopper a little ahead looking at some foods. Aya was getting anxiety every single moment. And then, it happened. Aya stopped and watched as it seemed to happen in slow motion. Kakashi had kept going but stopped and started to turn in slow motion, and Robin and Bluno were passing the message. It was as if Aya could hear the faint CP9 in there. And then suddenly, it was back, the man passed Robin, and she had kept going. I couldn't see the expression on her face, but could tell it was a pure look of shock, and was soon going to be replaced as a fake smile. Aya, are you all right? Said Kakashi looking at her. Now, Bluno was walking towards her. Why yay, she said, actually, I think I dropped something a while back, I'm going to go back and get it, you guys go ahead and I'll meet you. Okay, Kakashi was uneasy about this. But Aya had to get around the corner before Bluno passed her. I'll come with you. No, she replied a little too quickly. Sorry, I don't want you to waste your book time, and I want to get you each a surprise when you get back, okay? She said. Kakashi could tell something was up, but let it go, Aya should be okay on her own, right? Okay, we'll meet you at the bookstore, don't take too long. He said as he turned and followed everyone. Aya sighed and then ran back the way she came, taking the first alleyway on the left, knowing that would be where Bluno would disappear. She felt herself panting, even though it wasn't because she was out of breath, but because she was scared. Aya had her head all heaped up in this moment. What should I do? What should I do? Thoughts scrambled her head as she saw his shadow come. She inhaled as she saw his whole body come and then stop in front of her. Please move, said Bluno's voice from behind the mask, trying to sound normal, but Aya knew better. And no, Aya stuttered. She watched as the mask tilted a little from the confusion. I won't move, Bluno from CP9, she looked at him straight, though still frightened not hearing those words. You know, CP9? He asked. You nodded. You, Lucci, Khalifa, Kaku, and the other agents of CP9, stay away from Robin, you said the last part more sternly. Stay away from Robin? Asked Bluno. He still hadn't taken off his mask. Yes, and don't come near us ever again, or we'll tell the entire world about you, Aya threatened. Suddenly she heard Bluno chuckle, and saw something under his breath. But she couldn't hear anything. Suddenly, she felt a breeze behind her and turned to see Bluno's finger coming at her. She panicked and made a swipe with her hand quickly, making white come out as a shield as he struck. Bluno then jumped backwards in the air and landed lightly on the ground. Now they were facing opposite of the way they were facing each other before. You are a part of the Straw Hat crew. The new member, he said idly. Aya nodded, not taking her eyes off of him once. You are now a threat to the government, and the CP9. He came at her again, coming from above and striking down at her as she moved out of the way. Smoke came up and then Aya could see Bluno standing in the middle of a pit, right where she would have been killed. Hey, you seem tough, but he came at her again and Aya saw his shadow pass over her to go behind. She turned and put up a shield, only to feel his presence behind her again. Sorry, you lose, he said. Then Aya felt a sharp pain come to her shoulder and she fell onto her knees clutching at the extremely deep pain. She slightly yelled before something hit the back of her neck, blackness covering her eyes. XX. Kakashi HEA rode a faint pop behind him and looked to see smoke. The others stopped and also looked. What happened? Asked Chopper coming up to Kakashi and looking intent. I don't know. Let's check because Aya was going that way, he said worriedly. Sanji came over to them also and they started to run to the smoke. They saw it clear away and some people coughing before looking down an alleyway and then getting back to whatever they were doing. Sanji, Chopper, and Kakashi looked down the alleyway, going into it before stopping and seeing that there was nothing there. Maybe it was a malfunction for the festival, said Chopper as he looked back to the other people. Sanji and Kakashi waited there for a moment before looking at the others. Probably, and Aya can't get into trouble here, I'm pretty sure. What she was looking for was back at the ship, said Sanji. Ah, replied Kakashi, though he was thinking hard on what could have and could not have happened. Well, did you like it? Laughing face, please review and message me. I've been talking to some Kaminam and Thomas, it's fun. Now, I guess responses huh. Thomas drove in. Update is here now. Did you see so far what they've done XD haha. Kamium 714. More, well here. Sorry I told you it was coming on Friday. I had it, but then I realized that I hadn't finished this chapter. XD but here it is, laughing face. Jigoku Shouju. Boo, I like Coke, hee hee. Well, okay, once it was bad, I am not into baseball and I forgot what I was wearing. So I go into Harvard, just to pass through, and I was wearing a Yale sweatshirt and Yankee hat. It was horrible. I got the worst glares. Though I just sent the glares back. Hee hee. Well, there you are. I hope you enjoyed. Again, review, and message me on Yahoo, MSN, or AIM, it's fun to talk. Laughing face, next chapter coming. Soon. Help. Hey everybody. Sorry. My dumb computer is going weird. Right now it's 10:30 p.m. and I just came back from my first con in NYC, the New York Anime Festival. It was awesome XD. I'm officially not a con virgin anymore, haha. I cosplayed NICO Robin. Sadly, there wasn't many things for One Piece for sale, but they said it should be back up next year, so I am happy. Also, by the way, I am really tired because I met with a Luffy, Nami, Sanji and Vivi, and they were all awesome. We were kind of the official One Piece crew of that convention XD. And also, since I am really tired, I didn't get a chance to proofread this. Sorry if it turns out messy. Please tell me and I'll fix it. Dio and Thomas drove in. Sorry, I am gonna read that chapter tomorrow. My school, comp and the anime thing has gone everywhere. XD. Okay. Well, on to the story. Help. What do you mean it can't be repaired? Yelled Usopp. Its main part has been broken, and that is the base of the ship. There is no way to fix it. Here, Kaku laid down a ship's magazine down on the table. You can pick a new ship out of these. The others looked at it. Are you guys sure that it can't be fixed? Asked Naruto warily. We were sailing on it just a moment ago, and it was just fine. Said Sakura. That means that it was some sort of miracle that it lasted this long, but I did the inspection myself. There's nothing that'll have it from sinking the next time you go out, said Kaku. Oi, long nose, said Kiba. You better not be lying about this, seethed Kiba. Kiba didn't know why either, but for some reason, that ship was the only place that they could call home at the moment. I wouldn't lie, Kaku said. Luffy's eyes were dark, covered by his hat as he thought. Luffy, asked Shikamaru. No, we wait and see. We will do anything to fix the ship, please, said Luffy. But Kaku and the others just shook their heads. I'm gonna look around. Usopp waved them off, carrying one of the money bags. He didn't want to stay there anymore. He started to walk off when Kiba joined him. Do you mind if I come? He asked Usopp. Usopp shook his head and they together started to walk around the ship's rights place. Nami sighed as she saw them both walk off. At least Kiba is with him, she said, and Sakura nodded. You guys, said Polly with urgency. All five of them looked at Polly. You need to hide. The government is here. Nami, Sakura, Luffy, Naruto. And Shikamaru's eyes widened as they saw the head of the company come towards them, giving them a warning look about the two men dressed in black behind him. Hide, Sakura whispered loudly, and they all went behind the mass of logs. Behind the other ship rights, watching as the government officials passed by. We need the money, Iceberg, said one of the men, who had a gray beard, though still looked in his 40s. I know, I just don't have it yet, he said. He stopped in front of the ship rights, giving the pirates and ninjas a full view on them. You have to have it. We've been ugging you for, the man cut off and sniffed the air. Everyone looked at him curiously. I smell pirates, he said dangerously. The crew stiffened. Don't do anything, Luffy. Nami and Sakura whispered loudly as they hit him on the head silently. The man faced their direction, still smelling the air. I'm sorry, sir. In this area, there are no pirates, said Kaku. Brr, and if there were any, we would have already gotten rid of them. Brr, said Lucci's bird. Shut up. The man sniffed around, now also getting the shipwrights nervous when suddenly. What the hell is that? The government official went backwards, clutching his nose at the horrible smell. Sorry, that must have been me, said Polly, waving the air. I guess that was what you were smelling, huh? Polly laughed. The man clutched his nose and went up to Iceberg. We give you another month, and that's the end, he said before walking off and having his two bodyguards go away. When they were gone, the shipwrights closed their noses. Ah shit, who the hell ripped that? Said Polly, coughing. Kaku held his long nose as he went to the other side, to see everyone unconscious from the smell, and Naruto rubbing the back of his head. Sorry, I didn't think that it was that bad, he said. Ow, get me out of here. gasped Nami. The shipwrights had to help them out of the spot that Naruto had ripped himself in. Wow, I didn't think you were that bad, Naruto, said Shikamaru, waving the smell away. Sorry, he said. Ah, suddenly Nami screamed. Nami, what's wrong? Said Sakura, worried. Our money. It got stolen, Luffy said. Ah, yelled Luffy and Naruto. We havoc, said Sakura. Ah, hold on. Holly looked inside the bag, a white paper note in it. Frankie house. Damn, said Polly. Frankie stole your money, said Iceberg. Damn it, said Luffy, pissed. What about Usopp? Said Nami, suddenly worried. Usopp, Kiba, yelled Luffy. Shit, Kiba was with him, Naruto cursed. Go find them, said Polly. You need the money if you want to have a new ship, said Kaku. No, we'll fix it, said Luffy as they all started to run off to the gates. Shit, what the hell? Said Naruto as all of them started to sprint off in the direction of where Kiba and Usopp went. Where do you think they would be? Said Sakura. I don't know, but we should split up, Nami said as they all nodded. And then with that, Naruto went with Nami right, Shikamaru and Luffy left, and Sakura straight. Shikamaru and Luffy ran to the back. Hey, have you seen a man with a long nose and another one next to him with a giant dog? Luffy had stopped and asked one of the shipwrights. Sorry kid, no, Shikamaru said his thanks and they kept on going. Wait, Luffy. Shikamaru stopped and thought about what the shipwright had said. What? Said Luffy. The man had said that he didn't see Usopp of Kiba, that means that they didn't pass by there, therefore, meaning that they didn't come this way. Said Shikamaru, annoyed. Ah, come on, let's go the other way, he said, and then they both started to head towards the front gate instead of the back. Sakura had jumped up onto a roof and looked over the town. It was very intricate and had too many hiding places to go, but she could still see some things. Okay. USSOP. Kiba, she yelled at the top of her lungs. She took little notice about the shipwrights staring up at her and instead looked out to the town. Kuso. She squinted her eyes and looked at the ship, not seeing much from afar, but then seeing someone going into a building next to it labeled, Frankie House. There, she said to herself as she jumped down and started to run in that direction. Naruto, do you have any faster way? Asked Nami, running next to him. Ah, just hold on tight. Nami didn't get to say anything as he grabbed her around the waist and then jumped into the air, landing on one of the buildings. They were outside the shipwright's place, and were looking around. Why are there a bunch of people gathered around there? Asked Nami. Both of them squinted to look into the distance to see a bunch of people gathering near a wall. Naruto. Ah, he then, still holding her, jumped off and landed near the people. What happened? What is this? People were whispering things everywhere and Nami couldn't get a hold of herself. Move, she yelled, and they did, with Naruto coming behind her. On the ground was blood, and lots of it. Nami's eyes widened as she saw the case that used to be filled with money, on the ground. And blood written on the wall that said Frankie House. Damn it, seethed Naruto, clutching his fists. We need to go to the ship. Right now. Naruto nodded and then made his way to the ship, holding on to Nami. Nami had made it to the ship in record time with Naruto. As they made it to the deck, Sanji and Chopper came over the edge of the hill, followed by Luffy and Shikamaru. Oi, Nami, what's going on? Said Zoro, coming up from behind her. Our money has been stolen by Frankie House, said Nami sadly, and we think that have Usopp and Kiba right now, said Naruto worriedly. What? Nami Swan, what is going on? Sanji, Ina air Rutu, yelled a voice from their left. Everyone looked over to see a pink-haired girl on her knees with a lump in front of her. Saw Sakura? Asked Naruto to himself, squinting his eyes to see that far. Ah, we should go check it out, said Shikamaru, looking at the others. I'll stay here in case they come back, you guys go. All of the men nodded before running off to Sakura. Question mark. So, this is her, said a cold voice. Ah, she said she knew about CP9, said Bluno to the man in front of him. Aya coughed up some blood. She had been tied on her hands and legs, making her unable to move, and not only that, they were sea stone. Be bastards, scowled Aya. Lucci smirked and came up to her, picking her up from her collar. He bored into her eyes, staring deep into them with hard coldness. Aya stared back with as much coldness she could pile up in her eyes. Should we get rid of her, Lucci? Asked Bluno. I.e., we should wait. She's a part of Mugiwara's crew, yes. And that could be an asset to us with Robin, he said, still looking into Aya. Leave Robin alone, Aya yelled. It seemed quiet for a moment. We can't. She is evil and needs to be turned in. She's not evil, yelled Aya. Lucci seemed disgusted by her and threw her against the wall. Aya coughed up some blood before black spots started to come over her eyes. She has to go, not yet, but with Robin, Lucci said, and that was the last thing Aya heard before blacking out. We shall also use her to our advantage against the others also, said Lucci, after Aya was unconscious. Bluno nodded. Inform the others. We leave here the day after tomorrow, he said. It is finally time. We have finally got you, NICO Robin. Sorry, this was a short chapter. But I will make the next one longer. I know, because it has to be action-packed also. Be excited. Laughing face. Okay. I am too lazy to do review replies right now. Sorry guys, I am tired. So, thanks for reviewing. And also, please review now also. Haha XD. Next chapter coming soon. Laughing face. P.S. If you want pics of the convention, ask. Gomu cage fight. Gomu cage fight. Sakura was on the ground, looking at the person in front of her as the others rushed over. Sakura. What? Naruto didn't have to ask. The sight that was now in front of him was horrifying. Sak, Luffy, Zoro, Chopper and Sanji came behind Naruto and Shikamaru. Luffy clenched his fists in anger, shaking from trying to keep himself together. Sakura, he said, pissed. She was now healing Usopp, Chopper using medical tape to cover the spots that were already healed. All of them stood there, surrounding the broken Usopp, lying on the ground. He's still alive, just badly wounded, said Sakura sternly. Wait, where's Kiba? Said Shikamaru. It all came back to them. They forgot about him with the sight of Usopp, but now. Ara hhhhhhhhhh. Naruto yelled into the air. He didn't like his friends getting hurt, and whoever hurt Usopp and maybe Kiba was going to get their asses kicked. Naruto and Luffy could feel power rising in them as they both looked towards Frankie House. Is he okay? Sakura asked Zoro, who was facing away from her, his eyes shadowed. Ah, he just needs to rest. She slowly got up, followed by Chopper, who was done with his medical tape. They didn't need anyone to tell them to go ahead. They just all started walking at the same time. Frankie House got closer as they all walked. From right to left were Sakura, Shikamaru, Naruto, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji and Chopper. All their eyes were shadowed as they reached the door. Just then, Luffy and Naruto brought back their fist, and with one shot, they blew open the door. Ha 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 ha. Laughter was heard from inside the place, and then there was silence. Only some grunts were heard, also some yelps from the back of the room. Damn it, someone said. There was a circle of people, one of the men very tall and muscular looking, the others bulky looking also. They each had some sort of armor on them, with a weapon on their shoulder also. Another yelp, though more painful, sounded. Akamaru. Everyone heard someone. Kiba they recognized, say, and then a dog was thrown out of the group. Everio. Nay else was silent in the room except for that corner. Akamaru landed a ways of Chopper and he looked at him. The blood-stained dog, with what looked like a broken leg, lay on the ground whimpering. Quote, Akamaru, seethed Shikamaru as he and Chopper ran over to him. You fucking bastards, yelled Naruto, and he finally got the group's attention, actually, only one of them. He, who are you? Said a man with the black and pink armor, his hair covering his left eye. Where the fuck is Kiba? Yelled Naruto. Naru, there was another grunt in the circle of men. You guys better watch out, we are gonna kick the shit out of you. Said Luffy, looking at them dangerously. Oh really? Said the man with black spiky hair, the 6 of you versus us. We outnumber you by 100. Does it look like we fucking care? Said Sanji with a dangerous voice. Kiba, yelled Naruto. Nara. More beating was heard, and then, the crew couldn't hold it in anymore. RRRRRRRAHHHHHHHHH. They all yelled. Sakura took the right side with Shikamaru. Sakura automatically attacked the horrid group, using all her strength, and at the same time covering Shikamaru. Shikamaru did his jutsus and his shadow reached towards the ones that Sakura was bashing, keeping some in place while the others were being choked to death. Chopper had taken the other side, covering Akamaru as he used his rumble ball to throw everyone else off, hitting the others like bowling pins. Bastards, hurting our Nakama, he yelled as he threw some more back. Zoro was amazingly alongside Sanji, working halfway together. Onigiri, yelled Zoro as he slashed through one person, only to find a whole group coming towards him. Zoro, with all his swords out, suddenly spun. Tatsumaki, he yelled as he created a giant /W. Heil using a tornado to blow them all away. Party table kick course. Sanji's voice rang as the group he was surrounded with was instantly blown away with his power of his kicks. Two men came from both sides of him, each carrying a sword, hurting Usopp, Hiba, and Akamaru like that, fucking bastards. Collier Frit, he yelled as he went on his hands and hit them both in the neck while spinning, King them go in separate directions that they came from. ARRRRRAHHHHHHHHHHHH. Luffy's and Naruto's voices rang as they punched through a large man with enough armor on to create a house. Hiba, Naruto yelled. Luffy looked and saw that now, one of the bulky men was holding up Kiba by his hair. Naru, he tried to say before he was suddenly thrown against a wall hard. Hiba, Chopper and Sakura yelled as they saw him. Naruto's hairs started to prick up a little and Luffy's eyes were turning dark from anger. A low growl heard from them as the man who threw Kiba turned around to face them with a grin. Also followed by some of the others behind him. Was that your friend? Oh, I'm sorry, the large man started to laugh. Fucking bastard, roared Naruto and Luffy. Cage Bunshin, yell, Ed Naruto as the blue orb started to flow in his hands his clone was making. Gomu Gomu no. Luffy brought his arm back and now, everyone else could sense the danger coming from those two, and they all knew that they had to back off as soon as they started. Naruto and Luffy suddenly both looked up at the group, their eyes dangerous. Rasengan, Gatling gun, fury of punches came from Luffy as he launched them at the group. The group could understand the unimaginable power that suddenly came from him. Then as he did that, Naruto unleashed his Rasengan on them. Since they were closely packed, it attacked all of them at once. Blood and spit came from their mouths as their armor was pierced right through and their bodies pushed back towards the wall, the attacks still coming on them. Tagju Cage Bunshin, suddenly a mass amount of Narutos filled the room, and started to attack everyone from Frankie House. They looked up as a shadow then loomed over them. Gomu Gomu no, Luffy had Lao Nched himself in the air and had sucked in some air. SSSTTOORRMM. He yelled. Legs, feet, arms, and punches were directed everywhere, hitting the Frankie House people, including some Cage Bunshins. The real Naruto had gone over to Kiba, helping him and seeing the condition he was in made him even madder. He was like Usopp, though somewhat had more scratches, and still able to stand. Naru. 2K. Iba passed out as Naruto held him on his back. Naruto let me take him. Sakura had appeared at his side in that moment and looked at Naruto. Ah, he handed Kiba over to Sakura as took him onto her back. Chopper, she yelled. Chopper nodded and they both went outside, obviously going take Kiba and Usopp back to the ship to help them both. Naruto, yelled Shikamaru from the other side, he had got 10 most of them except for a couple that had gotten out of his grasp. Naruto went over to him and helped him with some of his Cage Bunshins. Zoro and Sanji were tearing away at every person they saw, and they both had hit the man in the beginning who said they couldn't beat them. Don't you ever touch one of our friends again, said Sanji as he kicked him with extreme power into the wall. Everyone was fighting so hard that soon, the entire Frankie house collapsed onto itself. The crew's anger pushing down. Finally, there was nothing left, even the people had run away, carrying their friends with them. Luffy was at the top of the rubble, looking out to the ocean. Naruto, Shikamaru, Sanji, and Luffy on the ground. Luffy, what are you going to do now? Asked Shikamaru looking at him. There was no answer from him as the wind from the ocean ruffled their hair. Luffy, said Sanji, his smoke rising from his mouth as he exhaled slowly. I have made my decision, he said. Everyone had his attention. We are going to get a new ship, and that's final. Sanji put his head down, wondering what Usopp would think, Naruto wondering the same thing, knowing that Usopp loved the ship. Ah, we better go back now, Luffy, said Naruto as he slowly started to walk back towards the Going Merry, followed by everyone else. Well, what do you think of this chapter? Action-packed. Well, I think so, hee. What will happen when Usopp find out? Well, we know for some, but what about with the ninjas there? Oh, and thanks for reminding myself XD instead of saying the crew and ninjas. I feel like saying only crew for them all, but if that annoys you, please tell me in your review. I still don't know if I am gonna do that, but it's easier XD thanks, laughing face. Jigoku Shouju. Ah, I forgot about them, hee JK. They should be in the next chapter. But, sorry for taking long with this chapter. Damn schoolwork and everything else XD, hee. Oh, I was wondering what that name was. Thanks for the keel thingy hee, laughing face. Thomas drove in. Ah, yes, I read it, Ute's really good. But I read it, and then it ended. XD. Hee anyways, I am gonna put a link in my profile, not yet but soon for the con pictures, or I. GHT just make an AMV with some music in the background in it XD hee what should I do? Kamium 714, Anime Convention. It was awesome XD I wanna go to the Boston one so bad now. Hee. Well, I am gonna if I can do what I told Thomas up there, read it and tell me what I should do. Well there you go, next chapter. Coming soon, hee review, laughing face. Differences. Allo, sorry for taking a little longer than usual to update this. I had a ton of homework and it was getting, well, annoying, so I just did it all and then this story had to go on a bit of a hold. But it's a longer chapter. I hope you like it, laughing face. The crew had made it back to the ship slowly, it had darkened by then as they made it to the top of the ship. Chopper had come up to Naruto and Shikamaru, asking if they had wanted to see Kiba first. Sakura was already with him in the medical room. They had both nodded as they made their way in, Luffy and the others just sitting outside, looking towards the ocean. Here, said Chopper as he opened the door for them and let them in. It was shadowed in the corners, Kiba lying on the bed and Sakura working over him. Oh, Naruto, Shikamaru, she said quietly as she stopped what she was doing and looking over at them. A sad smile on her face. There were two chairs. Shikamaru sat on one backwards while Naruto took the other one the same way. Is he all right? He asked looking over the unconscious Kiba. Ah, he's just been beaten up so much, that it has exhausted him, sighed Sakura. Replied Naruto. This has been bothering me, Sakura said, getting her a small silence. What is it, Sakura? Asked Shikamaru, wondering what was bothering her. Chopper and Sanji, weren't they with Kakashi, Robin, and Aya? She asked worriedly. It now dawned on them that Kakashi and the others were not here. How did that happen? Asked Naruto. I don't know, but we should go ask Sanji or Chopper, they would probably know, said Shikamaru standing up. Ah. Naruto then followed him out the door. Oh, Sakura. Are you going to stay here? He asked. She nodded. I need to make sure he is okay and none of his wounds open in case he moves around. Naruto nodded before going out of the room. XXX. Kakashi was looking everywhere. He had asked Sanji and Chopper before to go and look for Aya, in case she got lost on the way back to the ship. At first Sanji complained about leaving Robin alone, but Kakashi said that he would take care of her and not lose her. Sanji finally let him be and then ran off with Chopper to find Aya. And they still haven't come back. They have been gone for a while. He wondered whether they decided to stay at the ship or not. But it came off his mind as he went on to his search again. He had lied to Sanji. He didn't mean to. At first Robin was in front of him and walking normally. But when she turned a corner, she suddenly disappeared. Kakashi had inspected the corner. It was a short dead end, then followed by open water, he wondered whether she fell in a ND was about to go into the ocean to find out, but there were no ripples implying if she fell or went in. Kakashi stood there dumbfounded. He felt the walls and the short distance of the ground to see or feel if there was another presence that was here. Only a tingle of some sort of power drafted to him, but was quickly sent away. What happened to her? Is it like Aya? He remembered back to when Aya was turning the corner. Smoke had burst out, and then when he checked, she wasn't there anymore. Damn it, he cursed to himself as he looked up the wall. Maybe she used her powers to get up there. Akashi took a step back before dashing forward and then using his chakra to scale up the wall. He quickly reached the top and stood up. Kakashi could see the inlet maze that was Water 7. Damn it, she could be anywhere. Kakashi cursed at not having one of the Hyuga here for their peripheral vision. He then walked forward before deciding to sprint and try to look through the cracks and mazes called streets. XXX. Robin was in a dark lit room, only illuminating her legs and the person's face in front of her. I'm here, what do you want? She asked, seething that she was actually doing what they told her to do. We need you to unlock Cutty Flam's documents, when we have them. What do you mean, when we have them? Exactly what I said. We are going to get the documents and you have to read them. Of course you don't, and your whole crew gets killed in an instant. Robin inhaled sharply and her eyes widened. And no, hey, the CP9 are everywhere and nowhere. We know who the Straw Hats are already, and we can eliminate them easily. It all just depends on your choice. Will you let them live or die? Robin was caught in an extremely tight net, and it was only getting tighter. She had Fina LLY gotten a crew who likes her for who she was, not for what she can do, and then throw her away in the end like the others had. Luffy, Zoro, Chopper, Sanji, Nami, Usopp, and Aya, they had always been there with her. Even Aya, who she had just met, had saved her life with Aokiji and become a very close friend. What? Why would you? Because we can, and we will, it is the justice of the government, he said coolly. A smirk at the end of his sentence. Don't touch them, she said, grief and anger welling into her. So that means, I'll do it, just, don't touch them. Tears stared to fill up her eyes as she realized what she was doing. Good, do we really need to lock you up? He asked. No, she seethed under her breath. And, don't ever see them again, they would have probably thrown you away anyway, ha 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 ha. The man stood up. You may tell one that you cannot go back, but that is all. Report back here the day after tomorrow, that is when we start our leave. He then started to walk away, his coat trailing behind him as the darkness consumed him, and Robin was left alone, in the dark once again. XXX. Kakashi gave up as he started to go back to the ship, hoping that she was there. As he jumped onto the ship, there was a crash from the kitchen. What? Kakashi heard yelled and crashing as he quickly made his way into the kitchen. Why are you selling Mary? She's dying and I can't have the crew go with her. She's one of your nakama. Luffy. Usopp and Luffy were in the middle of a verbal fight. Dishes lay on the ground around them, looking like they had been thrown down. Naruto and Shikamaru were watching worriedly, wondering what to do. Usopp, think about it. Mary will always be with you, said Naruto. No, if she is killed then she is torn away from us. Luffy suddenly attacked Usopp, taking them both to the ground. Don't talk like you know everything, punk. You're not the only one who cares for the ship. If you care, you won't want to change the ship. Fine, if you don't like my decision then just leave. Luffy was cut off as a leg bashed into his head and threw him to the other side of the room. Idiot, watch what you are saying. Sanji was fuming mad, the crew all holding their breaths, Nami's eyes filling with tears. Shikamaru and Naruto wanted to stop them, but Kakashi held them back, Naruto's fists tightening. Luffy started to put his hat on his head. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No, I understand Luffy, said Usopp with a hint of a smirk. Nani, said Luffy. The rest of the crew looked at Usopp, wondering what he meant. You don't need a person like me. I'm weak, I'm not a swordsman, a powerful kicker, a ninja, or have any skills like all you have. Usopp, that's not true. You have marksman skill and you can invent things, said Naruto, desperately trying to make him understand. No, if Luffy wants to leave Mary behind. Then, you may as well leave me behind. Nami inhaled sharply. Usopp, she said, but he got up, his eyes shadowed. I only came because you invited me, but since we don't have the same goals, we should go our separate ways. Usopp, Nami yelled, but Usopp was already at the door. Goodbye Luffy, he said over his should before he was completely out. Sanji and Nami tried to get to the door. I quit. The door shut before they could get to it. Silence and shock filling the room. What just happened? Asked Naruto, as he finally was let go from Kakashi. He burst out the door, soon followed by everyone else, and saw Usopp walking away from the ship. Usopp, yelled Naruto. Come back, he yelled. He knew for some reason that he couldn't run off the ship and get him. It was some sort of instinct from him. All he could do was yell. USSOP. He yelled again. By this time, Sakura came out of her medical room, looking at what was going on before standing next to Shikamaru, and understanding the basic idea of what was going on. Usopp turned around, his eyes still shadowed as he pointed at Luffy. Luffy's eyes showed his fury. Luffy, he said. Everyone awaited his answer for what was going to come next. I call you for a duel, at 10 p.m. tonight. I challenge you, for the right of keeping Mary. He yelled. Luffy grinded his teeth. Shikamaru, Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi could not believe what he just said. Right then, two Nakama, were going to fight each other. Usopp, gasped Nami. Zoro's eyes were closed, trying to absorb everything in. Usopp then walked away again, finally taking himself out of the crew's sight and going into Water 7. Luffy just walked back to the N's quarters, leaving everyone else out on the deck, not saying a word. No, gasped Nami. This isn't real, right? This is a dream, right? Chopper asked, tears already streaming down his cheeks. You guys can't fight each other. What will happen? You guys are Nakama, said Naruto to the crew. Naruto sighed at him. This isn't as hard for you as it is for Luffy, let it go, he said quietly. What? How can I? They might kill each other. Naruto, Sakura said. Her eyes were dark. Stop it. We have enough on our hands already. A small tear came out of her eye and trailed down her cheek. Sakura walked back into the medical room. Even if she didn't know Usopp that well, somehow, it affected her. One of her friends was leaving. Nami walked into the men's quarters, looking in the dark at Luffy with tear-stuck eyes. She walked over to him. Luffy, how could you let him go off like that? Luffy didn't respond. He's your Nakama, your friend. Go out and get him back, she said, pointing to the door in emphasis as some tears leaked out. Luffy finally looked at her, his eyes emitted nothing and his mouth in a frown. If he wanted to go, he can go. There is no reason for me to stop him. But, Nami, I can deal with this. There is no way for him to come back. I can't have us keep this ship, it is too dangerous for us. He went back to his eyes being covered by his hat, looking down. Nami didn't know what else to say as she started to walk out. Just think about what you say next time, Luffy. Nami was almost out the door when Luffy stopped her. Nami, he asked. She turned around and looked at him. Do you know where Aya and Robin are? Nami thought for a second, Usopp filling her mind, but then remembering that Robin and Aya were not with them. No, they are probably still in the town, she said, remembering that at least they are still a part of the crew. Usopp was dug into her mind at the moment that she had forgotten about them completely. Nami stood there for a while, hoping Luffy would say something else, but when he didn't, Nami walked out, back into the cold night. Sadly realizing that the 10 o'clock duel was going to come soon. Does Usopp even have enough time anyway? She thought as she joined the rest of the crew. They were all in their own spot on the ship, sitting down or looking out to the ocean or where Usopp left. Kakashi was looking at the crew as he remembered something again. He walked over to Sanji, who was sitting on the deck, inhaling deeply on a cigarette. Sanji, he said, getting Sanji out of his thoughts. Said Sanji, nothing in his voice. Earlier today, when I asked you and Chopper to look for Aya, did you find her? Sanji's face screwed up slightly again as he got up. No, I thought she went back to you because she wasn't here either. Kakashi looked curiously at him. What about Robin Kwan? He asked worriedly. She Disappeared, what? I was with her for a moment. Then suddenly, she was gone and I couldn't find her. Sanji inhaled deeply. Damn, I'll go see if I can find them, Sho. No, you have to wait, said Zoro from the corner. Ronanoa, asked Kakashi to him. You can't go. They might be hanging out at the moment. But if anything happened to them, we don't want any more heavy lifting the crew has to do. Not only that, Usopp should be coming back soon. Also, he said, his eyes sharply looking at them. Kakashi nodded. He's right. We have time to look for them later. At the moment, we have something more to handle, said Kakashi. Sanji was going to fight back but decided not to, wanting to see Usopp one more time, and maybe persuade him to join the crew again. No one would leave the ship, all they did was wait, until the time finally came. And tell me all about what you think about this chapter. I thought it was okay. I want to add more Aya in the later chapters, though it's just some sort of problem for me with her, but she will be back. I will be BAQ, Arnold Schwarzenegger, did I spell his name right? Oh well, okay well, Rapiz, laughing face. Jiguk Shouju. I did not see any wrath from fans, though I somehow felt it stirring up XD hehe. Well, the new chapter is here. What did ya think? Laughing face. Comium 714. AMV stands for animated music video. Look up, One Piece, insert favorite song here, and search it on YouTube, and you should be able to get it. Laughing face hehe. Thomas drove in. Naruto now say. The character's development in One Piece. XD math, though I do feel sort of bad for Kiba smiley face. Anywho, did new strike come? For all those to note, and like Naruto, me and a friend of mine are developing a story, I do my side. She does hers, and then it combines into awesomeness. Laughing face hehe. Tell me if you think it would be cool. And don't forget to review. Laughing face thanks. Tight. Sorry for being really late. It seemed to take forever to write this because I wanted to make sure I got all the words right in the manga and here XD hehe. Props to One Piece, or actually it'd give the whole world XD more action in this chapter. A lot, which is also another reason it took forever XD. Well, read. Tight. The ropes around her were tight, cutting off necessary air she needed. The cold air was crisp as she breathed in and shivered. Pounding reached her ears slowly as she became familiar with the sound of a hammer. Aya's eyes fluttered open as she slowly took a look at where she was and turned her head around. You're up, said a voice that was definitely a man. Aya looked up, her eyes a little blurry at first, but then looking at the man more clearly, and the thing that stood out about the man the most was the long nose. Usopp, she asked. Hey, he chuckled. Sorry, I'm not who you think I am. I am CP9. Aya inhaled sharply as she heard that name. The CP9 had her. She was under their arrest. She was sacrificing herself. Something the crew would hate. She knew that somehow she had to get out of this. Where am I? She asked. Inside the masked room. This is a section cut off only for some people, like me, to make the inner part of the masks before they are sent out and the other people secure the outer parts. He said simply. Aya slowly got that into her head, but didn't care much. What am I doing here? She asked. To keep you inside. We are not permitting you to leave. Also, we have our departure in the day after tomorrow. Why the day after tomorrow? She said immediately after. We need to accomplish something first. He said. What do you need to accomplish? Aya said, more shocked about what she might be hearing. Something of importance and something you do not need to know. What do you mean I can't know? We should leave now. 'Cause no destruction. I said you can't have. Aya was cut off as Kaku, who Aya knew by now, shoved her into the wall, stopping her from talking. You never said anything about not taking her, he smiled. Kaku, you senile bast. Kaku banged her against the wall again, hitting her hard and taking the air out of Aya's lungs. She gasped and coughed. How the hell do you know my name? Said Kaku dangerously, yet there seemed to be some fear in it. Hey, Aya looked up at him confidently, blood streaming down from the side of her mouth. I know everything about the CP9. I know who is in it, I know the leader, I know who is going to win this battle, I know who will lose, and I know whether or not anyone will survive. Kaku stared at her. coldness in his eyes before he yelled and banged her into the wall again. He got up, his eyes covered in his hat's shadow. "You will be eliminated," he said, hatred, anger, and fright pouring from his voice. Aya smiled in the darkness. "You can't," she said. Kaku went back to what he was working on, and with that, Aya starting to think of a plan of how she may get away. Question mark. The night had finally came, darkness surrounding the open area, where Usopp and Luffy now stood. The crew was on the ship, Sakura next to Nami, trying to hold in their tears. Naruto had his hands gripped around the railing with Chopper. As the others stood behind it, their hands either in fist at their sides, or in their pockets. "Are you sure you want to fight me, Usopp?" asked Luffy, seething with anger at what Usopp had done before. "Do you want to leave a nakama behind, Luffy? Do you?" yelled Usopp mad. Silence filled the air as wind ruffled with the dirt and caused what looked like smoke to rise. "You understand, you have come here a man, Usopp. You cannot back out, Klee." "Ah, and I don't plan to." The crew watched in silence, as Usopp had started the fight. "Don't be surprised when I tell you this, Luffy, but I have 8,000 followers behind me waiting for my signal. If you don't want to die, surrender now." "Oh my god, 8,000 people," said in Naruto. Chopper outraged at how Usopp had gotten that many people. "You two should go inside," said Zoro with a sweat drop. "I'm pretty sure you are just lying, USSOP," yelled Luffy. "Back to him. Then, USSOP eat shell." Luffy had finally had enough. He couldn't stop himself as he went forward. He arm behind him. Gomu no. Suddenly, Usopp fell forward, blood spurting from his mouth as went down to his knees. Luffy, seeing this, immediately stopped in front of him, worried about his friend and fist still in the air. "USSOP," said Sakura nervously. "Don't, Sakura," said Kakashi immediately after. He knew something was up. The crew looked at him. Kakashi's eyes narrowed and then looked back out to the other two. "Certain death, ketchup style," said Usopp, his hands still covering his mouth. "Nani," said Luffy, surprised. "There is nothing more pitiful about you, Luffy. When you don't get into a real man's fight that I brought to you." "Flash dial," yelled Usopp as he took out the dial and a bright flash was produced right in front of Luffy. "Ah!" yelled Luffy, covering his eyes from the blinding light. He kept falling backwards, trying to get the light out of his eyes when he heard "certain death, egg star." A rotten egg splattered on his face. The smell horribly disgusting to Luffy as he tried to wipe it off. "What the hell, get real already," said Luffy, pissed. "Luffy, I think you forget, this is my fighting style," yelled Usopp. "Don't open your mouth too wide, Luffy. You may get burned." "Certain death, Tabasco star." Usopp had sprung a seed with his slingshot, and shot it into Luffy's mouth. Unfortunately for Luffy, he had swallowed it. Heat rising immediately in his throat, and a roaring fire coming out of his mouth. "Ah, hoot," he yelled in pain. "Luffy," said Nami nervously. "What the hell was that?" said Shikamaru, anxious about what Luffy had swallowed. As Luffy backed up, he didn't look, and he fell onto a floor of small spikes, puncturing his body in many ways. "Ah," he yelled again, writhing in pain. "Usopp is so fast," said Chopper. "I am not going to let you keep Mary, Luffy," yelled Usopp again. "Damn it, so smelly, so spicy, it hurts." Luffy coughed as he slowly got up, making sure not to step on spikes that littered the ground around him. "I won't let you have a moment to breathe, Luffy." "Certain death, shuriken shower," Usopp yelled as a horde of shurikens were tossed at Luffy. Luffy dodged them, one by one. But the attacks only kept coming, more and more running and pounding from the shurikens. Finally they stopped, Luffy gaining a certain stance again amongst the spikes below him. It then started to get foggy around him. "Smoke?" asked Luffy more to himself. "Smoke," said Sanji, surprised a little. "How did he get this prepared so fast?" said Nami as she slowly started to realize what was happening. "I used the breath dial. The rotten egg prevented you from smelling it." "That smoke, Luffy, is gas." Usopp then held his slingshot up, the crew all gasping. "No hard feelings, Flame Star," yelled Usopp as he shot a pellet, and it exploded, causing the fire to explode with it, and Luffy, in the middle. said Nami as the wind burst towards them and they had been driven back with the force of the explosion on the water. What the hell, said Naruto, seeing how far a fight between Nakama was going. Luffy, USSOP, yelled Nami. Luffy lay on the ground, his clothes torn and shredded. He wondered he should do. Usopp was his longtime friend. They've played together, ate together, gone on adventures together, and now, it had all fallen down onto this one point. Usopp was sitting against a rock, also remembering the times he and Luffy had together, all the laughing and games they've played. There was nothing more fun. But he had to let them go if they were letting another Nakama marry. To die in the cold. I don't like where this is going, said Naruto, his hands almost snapping the railing, but for Usopp's sake not. Luffy, Usopp, yelled Chopper, tears streaming down his eyes. Are you sure you don't want to go inside? Asked Zoro. No one responded. I know you're not dead, Luffy, come out and fight, said Usopp. Everyone watched as a shadow emerged from the mist, and Luffy came out. He looked extremely serious now. Gomu Gomu no, certain death CATCUS star. Gatling. Luffy started to pound Usopp with punches, but not one reached him back. The ball that Usopp had shot hit one of Luffy's fists, and then exploded into a needles attacking Luffy and having him fall back. Triple Flame Star. He yelled and attempted to get Luffy burned but he missed. This is where Luffy saw his chance. Gomu Gomu no pistol. It had hit Usopp square on the cheek, throwing him back a ways. Luffy then ran up to him and bazooka, he yelled, but then somehow, Usopp had not been thrown back. Huh, said Kakashi. Wait, what happened? Said Shikamaru, noticing the shell Usopp was holding. That's a dial, it's an, Sanji cut himself off when. Impact dial, seethed Usopp, spitting blood out. Luffy inhaled sharply. All your power, Luffy, was driven into this. What? That's not good, said Sakura. What is he gonna do? Said Naruto rapidly. Bring the force back onto Luffy. What? Luffy. Naruto was about to jump off when he felt Shikamaru and Kakashi hold him back. Naruto, stay the hell out of this is their fight, not yours. Kakashi strained. They all watched, horrified as Usopp brought it up to Luffy's face, and pressed it, pushing the unimaginable force into him, and Usopp's arm. Impact 2, yelled Usopp as he pushed it. Luffy was thrown back, blood spurting from his mouth as he flew through the air. Take that, damn it, yelled Usopp in pain. That's not right, said Naruto trying to let them go of him. Stop it, Naruto, said Kakashi holding onto him tighter. Naruto then stopped, as they saw Luffy land on his feet, not far from Usopp, who was clutching his arm. Luffy thought of the memory of when he first met Usopp. Gomu Gomu no. They all watched silently as Luffy's arm went backwards as far as it can with his limit in his rubber arms. Nami covered her mouth and let out a little whimper as the rest of the crew's eyes widened. Luffy looked at Usopp's strained eyes one last time. Bullet. All that force that was in that punch went straight into Usopp. Usopp was driven back as pain surged through his entire body. He coughed up blood clogging up his throat and bent over. USSOP, yelled Chopper, waterfalls coming from his eyes. Nami covered her eyes on Sakura's shoulder crying as Sakura also looked the other way. Sanji was with a stricken face as were Naruto and Shikamaru, their mouths hanging slightly open at the pain their friend was feeling right now. Zoro and Kakashi were the only ones who had stayed neutral. Usopp lay on the ground as Luffy fell to his knees. Stupid asshole, there was no way you could win, yelled Luffy. He slowly got up again, and picked up his hat, walking back towards the ship. Do what you want with going, Mary. She's yours to keep, said Luffy as he walked back to his ship. We'll get a new ship, and sail the seas ahead. Everyone watched, stricken with sadness from the fallen Usopp. Goodbye, Usopp, it's been fun, Luffy said one last time, as he headed for the ship. USSOP. Chopper's cry rang through the whole ship as he tried to leave. They all stared at him as he tried to get off, Naruto not moving. Only tears streaming down his eyes. Why? He was beaten to ship before and now again, said Chopper crying more and looking at Sanji who was trying to hold him back. Get off me. Chopper used his heavy point to get him off. No, Chopper. Sanji pounced on him, causing Chopper to fall backwards and Sanji holding him down. He lost a duel and about how that must feel right now, said Sanji right to his face. This kindness pains the loser. He came into this, knowing that this might happen. Sanji glared at Chopper. Everyone's attention was then turned to T. He ground as they heard the light footsteps of Luffy stop in front of the ship. His hat covering his eyes, Nami looked up from Sakura's shoulder, tears threatening to spill. Heavy, he said almost too quietly. That's what a captain is. He does hesitate. Or else, who would we believe in? Zoro said, feeling the heaviness also fall upon his shoulders. Naruto and Shikamaru watched, as they saw tears come out of Luffy's eyes. Falling down his cheeks, he was covering his eyes with his hat, trying not to let the crew see. Let's clear this ship. We cannot come back here ever again, said Zoro. Show. PPER ran back from helping Usopp just in time to hear this. Naruto nodded as he followed Sakura to the medical room. They went into the medical room, everyone else going to get their stuff slowly. How did Kiba? I put him on heavy fluids, causing him to fall into deep sleep and not feel anything, she said sadly. Naruto nodded as he took his friend and put him around his shoulders. Akamaru. Shikamaru will get him, Sakura said, not even looking at Naruto to hide her tears. To her, it was almost like Sasuke leaving them. She hated going through this. Naruto left the room, taking Kiba. Shikamaru came and took Akamaru. And then Chopper came, having himself and Sakura get the medical things and leave the ship. Usopp lying on the ground as the crew passed. Most of them not looking, only Angie and Chopper looking for the last time. They may see their friend. Well, that is it for this chapter. Hee hee. Big action or no? Well, a lot more should happen in the next chapter, I think. Have I been saying that too much? Damn, if I am. Please tell me XD. Hee hee. Jigoku Shouju. Yes, I see all your ideas, and they are pretty good. Though, I am not really sure about the Robin X Kaku, because Aya is going with what she read the manga from her real world, remember? XD. Thomas drove in. Hee hee. Well, everything is a bit whacked right now, isn't it? Sorry, I am not catching up on your stories. I am pissed that my school blocked fanfiction but not fiction press _ It's very annoying, and that's basically the only time I can read it. As you can tell, I got this out late XD sorry. Betrayal. The crew was in a hotel, they had slept there for the night. The girls in one room while the guys in another. Nami had gone to the counter to pay for their stay, Sakura tidying things up in their room when she noticed there were more people were buzzing around in the small lobby than there was last night. What's going on? She said to the person behind the desk. Iceberg-san has been shot. What? Nami was shocked. How could have he been shot? In that matter, who would want to shoot him? It could be the Frankie family. Nami's ears leaked to the people behind her as they talked about the incident. She took up the paper in front of her. Or, it could be those damned pirates. Nami inhaled sharply. Damn it, better not get caught. Can I have the paper? Nami asked eagerly. You have to pay for it first. Thank you. She slammed the money on the counter and rushed back up to her room, the man not caring and ruffling around with the news on Iceberg. ? Luffy was on the roof, the wind tussling with his hair. Zoro on one side of the roof and Kakashi on the other. They sat there quietly as the door opened and Sanji, Kiba and Chopper came out. Have any of you seen Robin-chan? Asked Sanji smoking on a cigarette. We haven't seen her since yesterday, said Zoro, still looking out to the town. What happened to her? Asked Sanji to Kakashi. I don't know, she was there, and then she wasn't. What about Aya? Asked Kiba. Akamaru at his side. We were there also, but she said that she went back to the ship. Said Sanji, chin between his thumb and index finger. She couldn't have gotten lost on the way there. Not for 2 days, said Kakashi, also thinking. Did someone kidnap her? Asked Zoro to them. Sanji, Kiba, Chopper, and Kakashi all looked at Zoro before looking at Luffy. Still in the same position he was in since before. Aya, kidnapped? Luffy seemed to ask. What would they want her for? Asked Kiba. Well, you have to remember she is not from our world, either of ours. Kakashi said as he looked straight at Sanji and Zoro. She has valuable information on each of our futures, one that anyone would want for themselves, and we have no idea how far it goes. That's right, she can see our futures, said Kiba. Aya had seen the future. If she had, why she didn't tell us? Asked Luffy. Everyone looked up to Luffy, finally hearing him say a whole sentence since the fight last night. His fists tightened. Why didn't she tell us about Usopp? He said angrily as the others just watched him. Kakashi sighed and looked down at the ground. Zoro looked towards Sanji, Kiba, and Chopper. You guys should go look for them. Sanji, Kiba, and Chopper nodded. Okay, we'll find you later if we have any news, said Kiba. And with that, the three, including Akamaru, went to the door, and left. After about 5 minutes, Kakashi's head came up and the door was slammed open. Sakura and Nami were there, Nami panting that she had run up all those stairs. Everyone, Iceberg-san has been shot, said Sakura urgently. What? Said Zoro. Luffy turned around. Iceberg-san, why? Demanded Luffy. I don't know, it just says that in the newspaper and everyone is talking about it. And not only that, some people believe it was us, said Nami. What? Said Luffy. Sakura, is this true? Asked Kakashi. Hi sensei, look at the paper. Kakashi came over and Nami handed him the morning paper. It proves it right here, he said, motioning it to the paper. And they think it's us, said Luffy. Yay, said Nami. Luffy couldn't believe it. He could understand the Pier 8 part, but not the part that they were friends with the construction workers. So they should have known it couldn't have been them. They think though, it could have been the Frankie family also. Luffy's jaw tightened. They said that, he asked through his teeth. Ah, replied Nami. Okay then you guys, we have to prove ourselves innocent, stated Luffy. Ah, said Sakura. Luffy then jumped down from where he was. Where should we go? He said, rubbing the back of his head. Everyone's sweat dropped, wondering how fast he had gotten out of his mood. Let's go to the site first, said Kakashi referring to the shipwright's site. We should ask them about what happened. Everyone nodded. Ah, they all said. Nami. Nami looked up as Luffy put his arm around her waist and held onto his hat. Let's go. And with that, they left to the site. Question mark. Sanji, Kiba, Akamaru, and Chopper had searched the whole town, asking people if they had seen either Aya or Robin and describing them. Why can't we find them? Asked Kiba annoyed. They couldn't have been kidnapped, right? Akamaru whined while sniffing the ground. They can't be. Maybe they got lost and stayed at a hotel together, asked Chopper. I don't think they would leave us worrying like this though, and I do not like how this is going either, said Sanji. They had passed the bookshop, having already asked the man if he had seen them. Suddenly, Akamaru started to bark, and then move on ahead. Akamaru, said Kiba and the others followed him. Huh, said Chopper. What is it, Chopper? Asked Sanji while running after Akamaru. He says he found Robin's scent. Here. Chopper had also found it, catching up to Akamaru and then both going a sharp turn to their left. They kept running until they had reached the water system. In front of them was a huge gap filled with water. On the other side was a hallway building, and in that hallway was Robin. Robin, said Chopper happily. Akamaru barked. Robin, said Kiba and Sanji relieved. Are you okay, Robin? Wait over there. I will come over for, no. That one word stop, said Kiba. Robin looked at them straight, her face void of any emotion. We are fine at where we are. I won't go back with you. Kiba's, Chopper's, and Sanji's eyes widened. Let's say our farewell here, in this town. What do you mean, Robin-chan? Said Sanji. This was all going too fast for him. When did it suddenly turn to this? Exclamation mark. You don't really mean that, Robin, said Chopper, wondering what she meant. Robin, why would you even think that? Said Kiba. He looked at Robin, noticing a sharp change about her. What happened? He whispered to himself. Nothing has happened. It is just apparent that I do not belong with you. Robin-chan, are you saying this because of the papers? Don't worry, we don't believe it. None of us could have done such a thing, but, you know how pirates are always blamed for everything. Right, said Sanji desperately. Kiba looked at Sanji, watching as he was slowly biting through his cigarette. Yes, you guys were falsely accused of a crime, but for it is the truth. I infiltrated the mayor's room last night, she said calmly. No one could believe it. There was no way possible that Robin could have done that, right? Hey, haha, stop joking with us, Robin, said Kiba, trying to believe that this was all fake. I am shrouded in a darkness that cannot be taken back with you. Now, you are my scapegoats for this incident. This situation is going to worsen. Robin-chan, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this? Yelled Sanji. Why, yes, that is a good question, but there is no need to tell you that. Robin, you aren't making any sense. Did something happen to you? Yelled Kiba. Robin, come back with us. Yelled Chopper. Akamaru was barking loudly. We haven't known each other for long, and after this we will never see each other again. Say hello to everyone for me. In the time I've known you, you have treated me well. Robin then started to turn and walk into the hallway, farther away from them. No, Robin, yelled Sanji. Sanji jumped into the water, desperately trying to get to the other side. Robin, yelled Chopper. Robin, TCH. Kiba immediately put Chakra on his feet and ran across to the other side, passing the desperate Sanji. His feet hit the stone floor as started to sprint towards her. Robin, yelled Kiba. Robin turned around, her hands already in cross formation. She didn't even say anything as hands sprouted from the ground and pillars. She tripped Kiba, he falling on his face. She held his body down with her hands. Don't, you will not be able to follow. No, Robin, why are you leaving your nakama behind? You were one of us. Kiba watched as Robin seemed to space out for a moment, but then catching herself. And then her eyes shrouded again. She closed her hands into fist, holding Kiba down tighter. I'm sorry, but this is our goodbye. She unclasped her hands, but her extra hands still held down Kiba. No, Robin. Robin's heels disappeared as she turned a corner, her hands leaving immediately after, and Kiba running to the corner to see that she is gone. Question mark. Sanji, Kiba, Akamaru, and Chopper all sat on the edge of the stairs, the water a few feet in front of them, Sanji wringing his shirt. What do you think happened to her? Said Chopper sadly. They had searched the entire area, and Akamaru and Chopper tried to find her with their nose, but nothing was left. I don't know, said Sanji. There is something that is pulling her away, said Kiba matter-of-factly. Sanji and Chopper looked at him a little strangely. What do you mean by pulling her back? Said Sanji. I've seen something like this before. Sasuke, he left us because he wanted power, but also he had a promise from Orochimaru for something, we don't know yet. It could be anything, he said, shaking his hood off his head. She doesn't want power, said Sanji, so she is being taken by someone then. Kiba nodded. If this happened to Robin, what do you think happened to Aya? Said Chopper. Kiba and Sanji suddenly had Aya surge back into their minds. Aya, whispered Sanji. She wouldn't leave though. She loves Luffy, right? Said Chopper. But she didn't tell him about Usopp, said Kiba. Does that have to do with anything about why she left? Said Sanji as he sighed. They all sat there for a moment more before Sanji stood up, a new smoke in his mouth. Chopper, Kiba, go tell Luffy about this. What? Asked Chopper. I'm going to go after her, said Sanji, hands in his pockets. Sanji, are you sure you want to go alone? Asked Kiba, getting up, Akamaru by his side immediately. Sanji looked at him and then his Akamaru. All right, Chopper, will you go tell the RS Kiba and I'll meet up with them later. Sanji started to walk down the ravine. You comin', he said over his shoulder to Kiba. Kiba jogged over to him. With Aya in some sort of a situation such as hers, she is bound to be with them, said Sanji to Chopper and Kiba. We will get them both, and bring them back. You tell the crew to take care of the other situation. Chopper stood there watching until he grasped everything in his mind. Okay. And with that, Chopper went to go tell the others. Wow, I got most of what Robin said in the manga, and as I rewrite it, it sounds funny XD haha. Does anyone else think so? Well, Review replies, laughing face. Comium 714. Yay. You reviewed. I missed you in the last chapter XD haha. Do you like this chapter? Laughing face oh, and I am going to another N in May in Boston XD, so I am planning to have just one big AMV of One Piece cosplay hehe. Sorry. Thomas drove in. I read it. Well, the first chapter so far, it is awesome. I like the intensity of the first chapter XD hehe. And yay. Don't they notice their Nakama is missing? I wonder what happens to them during the fights and lookouts. Smirk. Jigoku Shouju. Ha 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 XD yay, we were waiting for a friend. And then some guy in a car was next to us waiting to turn. We didn't notice him until he said and scared the shit out of us XD, and then he sped off. Then we got into a semi-fight with us, chasing a couple of guys and shooting silly string at them. We had no idea who they were, and it was just an awesome night. At first, I was gonna be from the Matrix, but I looked nothing like it, so I decided to be a gypsy XD haha. Anyways, I hope you liked this chapter. Another one should come sometime soon. Laughing face review, laughing face. Break in. Hey, I'm hoping you are all enjoying this story. There's a lot more coming in later, hehe. So here is the next chapter titled, Break In. I hope you enjoy it, laughing face. Break in. Making such a big mess, what the hell are you doing here? Strafut. Polly's voice cut off from Frankie's and Luffy's fight. Both Frankie and Luffy said. Naruto, Sakura, Shikamaru, Kakashi, Zoro, and Nami all stood to the side as the scene unfolded in front of them. When they first came in, it was extremely quiet, all of them wondering where the workers had gone, but then a crash sounded off in front of them as Frankie and two other women appeared in front of them. A fight happened, almost immediately, with Luffy annoyed at the Frankie family, and the possibility he had done the shooting. And Frankie being mad because Luffy disheveled his Frankie family. Strafut, said Polly angrily. Do you know what you have even done? His fists slightly shaking and eyes shadowed. Wait Polly, we didn't. Don't give me this crap. Polly said, interrupting Shikamaru. Why the hell would you do such a thing? He said angrily. No, Polly, how do you even know it was us? Said Nami, trying to come up with a reason that they shouldn't be arrested. I'm guessing that he didn't have enough with my family. So he took it out on Galilea, said Frankie. We didn't do it, said Luffy annoyed. It couldn't have been Frankie, because he is too big to go anywhere seen, so, Luffy, he said dangerously. Your ass is mine. What? The crew couldn't think of anything to do as Polly shouted. Rope action air not. He shot out a rope from his arms and it circled around his throat, Kazanafi. Cried out Nami. Air drive. Luffy was thrown into the air and was about to be smashed back into the ground, when suddenly in the air, the rope was cut, and Luffy only fell, Kakashi cutting the rope from his neck almost immediately after. Nice Shikamaru, said Kakashi. No you don't, said Kaku as he started to go towards Kakashi, only to get cut off by Sakura appearing in front of him with a kunai out. No Sakura, said Luffy as he got up. Kakashi was in front of him facing Polly. We don't want to give them proof that we are the ones who shot Iceberg, said Luffy. Akira glanced at Luffy and nodded slightly, but still kept her kunai out, facing Kaku. Luffy, Kakashi whispered urgently. Zoro, Naruto, Nami, Shikamaru. Luffy yelled, meet us later. He yelled. Yelled Naruto and Shikamaru. What Luffy? Naruto immediately grabbed Nami around her waist and jumped out of the Galilea. No, yelled Peeply starting to run after them. Zoro, Shikamaru, yelled and took off in another direction with Zoro. Get them. Polly yelled as he started towards Kakashi. I don't think so, he said calmly as he disappeared before him. Lucci's eyes slightly widened at Kakashi's speed. Sakura. Kakashi appeared right next to Luffy. Let's go. Sakura disappeared, appearing behind Kakashi. Kakashi took Luffy and then disappeared with a jutsu, smoke, cascading around him, and Sakura left alone on the edge. Polly looked at her. Get her. Damn it Kakashi. Sakura cursed as she said her own jutsu and vanished into smoke. Fuck. We have to go after them. Yelled Tilestone. Search the city. Whoever finds them gets a reward and has the honor of finding Iceberg's murderer," yelled Polly, and with a yell everyone, including the non-galley Lecompan, Y members rushed out with pitchforks and knives, after each member of the crew. Luffy was on a bridge, Kakashi at his side, looking over the railing wondering where everyone was. Do you think they know where we are?" asked Luffy, peering over to the other bridge where he saw some people go by. Naruto and Shikamaru should feel my chakra because I sent it out, so should Sakura," Kakashi said, looking at the other bridge. Sakura suddenly appeared next to Kakashi. "Damn it, Kakashi. At least tell me if you're leaving without me," cursed Sakura. "Ma, I though you knew," said Kakashi, with a sweat drop on the side of his face. Sakura's fist was shaking, about to hit Kakashi when, guys," said Luffy's weary voice, "they see us." Kakashi and Sakura looked over to the other bridge, and saw the angry mob looking towards them, yelling out curses before running around the bridge and start to come towards them. Yelled Luffy, not knowing what to do when half his crew wasn't there. "Luffy!" Zoro ran up to him from the left side of the bridge, Shikamaru behind him. "They're coming," he said urgently. "Damn, what should we do?" said Luffy. "Under the bridge," said Sakura, thinking fast as the mob went behind some buildings in order to get to their bridge. Kakashi nodded and disappeared with Sakura and Shikamaru under the bridge. Zoro," said Luffy. "Luffy, stretch and hold me under the bridge." Luffy nodded and took Zoro as he went under the bridge, stretching his body to the sides, and holding onto it with his fingertips and toes. "Oi, are they anywhere here?" said a man above them. Zoro was sitting on Luffy's stretched out stomach, looking curiously at Kakashi, Shikamaru, and Sakura as they stood upside down, their feet on the bottom of the bridge. "They were here before," said another man. "Are they under?" Kakashi heard a man shuffle to the side of the bridge and stay there for a second, hoping they didn't see Luffy's toes or fingers. "No sir, they probably went off ahead," yelled a man. After them, the mob yelled off the bridge going straight. Luffy was struggling, trying to hold on to the slippery edges of the bridge. "Wait," said Shikamaru, listening to the mob. "TCH, Zoro," Luffy whimpered, holding onto the side. Wait, said Kakashi. Sweat was forming on Luffy's face. "Okay, Sakura was cut off as Luffy fell and splashed into the river below them. After a while, Luffy, Kakashi, Zoro, Shikamaru, and Sakura were all on a roof of a building. Luffy and Zoro wet from his falling and Zoro having to drag him out. "Kakashi, Luffy," a yell caught their attention as Naruto jumped over to them, Nami in his arms. When they landed, Naruto let Nami down and they both sat down. "What's up, Kakashi?" said Naruto with a smile. "No one saw you coming here, right?" asked Sakura. No, said Naruto thinking. Sakura was about to punch him when Nami cut her off. "Have you guys seen Sanji, Chopper, or Kiba?" she asked. "No, Luffy, Nami, Kakashi, Naruto." Zoro was cut off as they heard a high-pitched yell come from the ground. "Chopper," said Luffy happily as he ran to the side. "CCCHHHOOPPPEERRR." he yelled. "Luffy," said Chopper happily as he looked up and saw the wide grin of his captain. "I heard something over here," said a man from around the corner. Chopper looked scared. "Chopper," yelled Luffy as he stretched his arm down and Chopper caught it, being thrust into the air and to where everyone else was. "Are they here?" said a man who was now right in Chopper's place. "Don't look over," said Kakashi to Luffy who was about to. "No, this way." The mob rushed and left, following the road to look for the Straw Hats and the ninjas. "Phew," said Chopper as he went over to where everyone was sitting and Luffy sat down with them. "Chopper, where's Sanji and Kiba?" asked Nami curiously. The smile that was on Chopper's face before was now completely wiped off. "Chopper," said Sakura, noticing the change in his mood. "Well," he started. "What happened?" asked Luffy. "They told me to tell you this." Chopper told his story, telling them about what Robin had said, what they think happened to Aya, and where Kiba and Sanji were. I can't believe this," said Sakura. "Robin really said that," said Luffy angrily. He didn't know what to do. Why was she leaving the crew? Why? It was Alent as everyone absorbed the information. It's time to wake up. Zoro slammed one of his katanas down through the middle of the group. We don't know much about this woman, not her past, or what other groups she has been a part of, said Zoro. Everyone looked at him. We have to decide now. Is she friend, or foe? The question stuck in everyone's mind. None of them could think of her betraying the crew. And Aya is with them, said Luffy. Chopper nodded. Most probably, he said sadly. Okay, Luffy said, his voice sounding as he made a decision, and everyone looked towards him. I want to get it straight from Robin. Why she is leaving the crew, and then I want to get Aya back. No one takes them without a fight, said Luffy, mad as he stood up, hands curled into fists. Luffy, sighed Nami. I'm gonna have a talk with Iceberg Asan, he said, starting to walk towards the building far off that was where he lived. Are you guys coming? Said Luffy over his shoulder. Nami stood up. Yay, us too, said Kakashi, getting up with Naruto, Shikamaru, and Sakura. Zoro just stood up and nodded, putting his sword back into its sheath. Luffy looked down at Chopper intently before smiling. Don't worry, we'll see what happens, said Luffy with his grin. Chopper smiled back at him. Let's go. Luffy took Nami and jumped onto another building. Kakashi, Naruto, Sakura and Shikamaru jumped after him. Shikamaru holding Chopper and Naruto grabbing Zoro. Oi oi, I can jump just fine, said Zoro, pissed off. This far, said Naruto. They seemed to be going over 3 buildings at once. Zoro sighed, annoyed, but let it go as they got closer to Iceberg. Luffy stopped the building before it, first wanting to set things right before anything wrong happens. He put Nami down. Okay, are we okay? Said Luffy, turning around only to get punched by Nami. Carry a woman more nicely, asshole, she said. Nami, complained Luffy as he held onto his head. Okay, we have to get down to business, said Kakashi. Naruto letting go of Zoro and Shikamaru putting Chopper down. Kakashi took a peek over the ledge before turning back to the others. It is heavily guarded around there. And I'm guessing that outside of his apartment if also guarded. We will have to go in through the side of the building if you want to get into his room. Quote, that's easy, I'll just wait, said Kakashi, stopping Luffy. One of us should go with you. Just in case. Sakura, you go and open the way. Ah, Sakura nodded. Wait, aren't we coming? Said Nami. No, I don't want to put you all out there. I'll go, and then when I come back, tell you what he said. Nami paused before nodding at him. Okay, Sakura, asked Luffy with a smile. Ah, ready. They both stood on the ledge. Go, they both yelled. Sakura and Luffy leapt off, heading towards the building in front of them. Sakura, building all her power into her right arm, thrust it out against the hard side of the building, shattering the wall in an instant. And creating a hole for her and Luffy to get in. Someone get up there. Someone is in Iceberg's room. Yelling was heard down below as men started to freak out. Luffy and Sakura didn't care as Sakura went immediately to the door and held it shut, men on the other side pounding before going away to get some more help. Luffy faced a frightened Iceberg in his bed, his fists at his side. Iceberg Asan, we have something we need to talk about, he said dangerously. Kamium 714. Go to one. You should be able to. I think there's one in every area at a certain time of year. New England area has a lot. If you live around there XD, and thanks. What did you think of this chapter? Thomas drove in. Well, Robin was hiding in the darkness, not wanting to get the Straw Hats, who were kind enough to give her a place to stay, in trouble for it. So she left. Heba x Robin XD, haha. Something could happen, though you never know. XD review. Nothing special, just me. Yay. You got a name. Not that you already had on. EXD, thanks XD. Some people thought that Sanji actually turned into a vampire, and it was going to bite Rhea. That was who I named her, right? Hee. Everyone gets in a depressing mode and go into manga once in a while. XD hee. So, what did ya think of this chappy? XD review again. Laughing face. Woot. I like reviews, hee. Who doesn't? XD, I'll try and update soon for the next chapter. Laughing face, thanks. laughing face. Oh, and I almost forgot to say. Review, laughing face. Phased. Sorry guys. I decided to take a bit of a break over the week, hee. I was getting too much on my mind and I had to think of more ideas, so, I guess you can say it was a half break, haha. This chapter to me, as I reread it, seemed a bit rushed, but all the good anyways. I hope you still enjoy it, laughing face. Phased. Iceberg Asan, we have something we need to talk about. Luffy said dangerously. Sakura had her back to the door, facing Luffy and Iceberg. Luffy looked around the room, taking in everything when he noticed something strange. On his wall was a picture of Robin, her younger, former self. On a wanted poster for 79 million belly. Why, do you have this? Luffy went to the wall and ripped it off, taking it in his hands as he looked closely at it. NICO Robin, she has been on that wall. For as long as I have been here, I have had wanting to meet her. He said, eyes full of rage and something else that Sakura nor Luffy could understand. But, it wasn't us that hurt you, said Luffy, crumpling the paper and throwing it to the side. Iceberg's eyes watched it as it bounced off the wall and onto the floor before looking back into Luffy's dark onyx eyes. You have no idea what that woman is capable of, do you? Said Iceberg. Luffy thought for a while before answering back. No, I don't know what she is capable of. But, all I know is that she is my nakama, and that is most important. Iceberg sighed. Last night, he started, she came in here, and laid a gun to my chest. She didn't pull the trigger, but she was still in this room. Some Shoten. G was heard from behind Sakura, but no one paid attention to it. She was going to kill me for various reasons. It seemed she had too much to do at once. She was filled with grief and sadness, but so a sort of revenge that had withered away at her. Luffy's eyes showed a bit of surprise before going back to normal. All I can tell you is that she had shot me, but in my arm, and had left me unconscious with a blow to the back of my head. I can't blame you, but she was a part of your crew. Iceberg looked at Luffy as he seemed to absorb all of this. Banging now heard at the door. That can't be true, said Sakura. No, it can't, chalked out Luffy. I suggest you go, said Iceberg, not letting go of Luffy's gaze. I'll try and get them off your crew, but I can never forgive Robin, he said intensely. Luffy stood there for a moment, his fists shaking. Luffy, said Sakura, getting him out of his trance. But Luffy still had one more thing to say. Before I go, Iceberg, have you seen Aya? Asked Luffy. Iceberg looked at him quizzically, seeming surprised at what he had just asked. Who's that? Is she another person who was in your crew? Asked Iceberg. Just answer. Was another person besides Robin here? Iceberg thought back, but when he did, all he saw was Robin. No, there was no one in the room besides NICO Robin. Luffy's fists clenched even tighter. Okay, Sakura, said Luffy. Ready. Luffy nodded as he stood at the edge of the giant hole he had made before. Go. Sakura ran from the door, as it immediately busted open. Iceberg-san, are you all right? Asked a man with spiky brown hair. Nothing important happened. He sighed as he leaned back in his bed and closed his eyes, thinking about what had just occurred. ? Luffy and Sakura landed back on the roof of the building. Neither of them had been spotted by anyone as they jumped across. Everyone was just focused on getting inside and helping Iceberg. When they landed, everyone looked at their faces, hoping to find some answers. But Luffy was looking only down. Luffy, Sakura, did you find anything? Asked Naruto. We found some stuff out, said Sakura, making her way to them. We are going to go back there tonight, stated Luffy as his final decision. We are going to find out whether or not Robin shot him. Everyone nodded, seeing this decision already made, and they each faced each other. So where should we go while we wait? Asked Chopper. Well, some of us can look around for them, while everyone else stays here, said Nami. But, aren't they? That doesn't mean that they aren't on this island. Nami replied back to Chopper. We don't want too many people going, so, Zoro, Shikamaru. Go and see if you can find Aya while Kakashi and I will try and find Robin. What about Sanji and Kiba? Asked Naruto. They are going to find us later, stated Nami, the rest of you stay here, she said, boring it into each of their eyes. Naruto didn't want to fight her, scared of the consequences. Sakura, can you stay with these idiots here? Asked Nami to her. Hopefully they won't be stupid and create an explosion down there. She laughed slightly, but the tension from before not fully off. Okay, Kakashi, said Nami. Let's go. Kakashi grabbed Nami around her waist and disappeared into the buildings. Zoro, asked Shikamaru as he looked over at him, his stand. CE crouched with his hands in his pocket. And with that, the two of them left also. Sakura saw them disappear before turning back to face Naruto and Luffy again. Both their faces were pouting and hands holding onto their stomachs. I'm hungry, whined Luffy. Me too, said Naruto. I could really go for some ramen right now, Sakura sighed. Naruto, you know that there is probably no ramen here. And also that if we go out there we may get caught. But Sakura, no buts. Sakura waved her finger to both of them. Chopper thought for a moment before reaching into a small bag on his back. Wait, I think I have some food, said Chopper happily. Really, said Naruto and Luffy at the same on Chopper. Yay, Sanji told me to hold it for him when he found some food. Chopper shuffled his bag until he found what he was looking for. Inside were 2 apples, an orange, and a kiwi. Naruto and Luffy took an apple while Sakura took the orange and Chopper took the kiwi. Thanks Chopper, said Naruto biting on his apple, some of its juice trailing down his chin as he wiped it off. There's no need to thank me, asshole, said Chopper doing his happy dance while eating the kiwi. Sakura laughed as everyone got back to where they were sitting. Later, Sakura had moved them down to a tree where it was closer to the people below. And it was good because it was dark and the MN patrolling couldn't see them in the trees, but they could see them down there. There are a lot of people down there, said Luffy, finally getting off the topic of food that they had been on for hours. Yay, they probably think we would come during the night, which we technically are, said Sakura, Naruto nodding to her side. Damn it, everyone heard a low curse come from the roof they were just on. Where the hell are they? They recognized to be Zoro's voice. Oi! Luffy was cut off with Sakura slamming him into a tree with her hand over his mouth. Zoro, Shikamaru, Sakura whispered loudly. Some shuffling was heard from above before Shikamaru's head popped out and his jumped down to them, followed by Zoro. You could have told us that you were going to move, said Zoro scratching the back of his head. Poof, suddenly came off next to them, surprising everyone and almost having Chopper fall off if it weren't for Naruto grabbing the backpack laced on his back. Out of tea. Smoke came Kakashi with his hand in a peace sign and Nami on his back. Allo, he said smiling through his mask. Naruto sighed, can you not do that Kakashi-sensei? It's a habit, sorry. He chuckled. Did you find anything? Asked Chopper worriedly to both groups. Kakashi sighed and closed his eyes while shaking his head. Sorry, we couldn't find Robin anywhere, said Nami sadly from behind him. Chopper towards Zoro and Shikamaru who also shook their heads. No, we didn't find any trace of Aya anywhere, said Shikamaru. Chopper sighed as he looked down. But we'll find them right. And get them all back, right? Said Chopper. Everything seemed to pile on his shoulders. He didn't want anyone to get hurt or lonely, it was too terrible of a feeling. Chopper felt a warm hand then land on his shoulder softly. He turned his head to see Luffy's grin looking at him. Don't worry Chopper, we are going to try, he said, giggling a little. Boom. The short moment of peace was dissipated, when a large sound was heard and seen in the mansion. What the hell was that? Said Nami. A fire came to everyone's eyes as they saw what had happened. Below them, the men were going haywire. Some were going in it, some coming out, and everyone else yelling for water when suddenly, boom, another bomb went off on the other side. The men rushed over, gathering as much piles of water as they could to take the water out. But for some reason, there wasn't enough. Someone wanted to see iceberg before us, said Kakashi, his eyes narrowing. Damn it, what the hell should we do now? Said Zoro, obviously pissed. Everyone waited a silence around them when they should have been hearing their captain. Luffy. Nami turned around to face him. only to see that he was not there. What the? There. Aid Chopper pointing to Luffy, who seemed to be running on the ground towards the mansion. Only to be found by some of the workers and was now being chased. Idiot! Yelled Nami and Zoro, frustrated. Naruto, go help him. Everyone else, all meet in Iceberg's room, said Kakashi. He nodded at Shikamaru and they both disappeared, leaving Nami, Chopper, Zoro, and Sakura in the tree. Follow me, she saw it about to jump down when Nami grabbed her arm. Wait, is this okay? I mean, plunging into a mob like that. Shouldn't we plan this out a bit first? Said Nami. Nami, we're pirates, remember. We usually don't plan things out. Smirked Zoro as he jumped down, followed by Sakura and Chopper. Nami, finally giving in, jumped down after them. They ran against the building, using the dark and shadows their advantage as they started to go upstairs. Zoro, yelled Chopper, astounded. He was in his heavy point and was running up the stairs outside with Nami and Sakura when he realized that Zoro was there and in fact was heading in the wrong direction. We were freckin' leading you the entire time. How could you get lost? Said Nami, pissed. Damn it, said Zoro, turning around and going up the stairs after them. Okay, it's either on the second or third floor, his room, said Sakura. They were now on the inside and running through the first floor so they could get to the stairs, leading them to the second. You don't know where it is, said Zoro from the back. TCH, well, it's not like I looked at the room number on the door when I broke through the freckin' wall, said Sakura, annoyed back at him. Zoro grinded his teeth before they finally reached the second floor. Okay guys, look and we'll try to find them, alright, said Sakura. They all said as they each got a door and opened it. Question mark. Luffy was joined up with Naruto and they both fought off some of the guys who were chasing them, now running up the stairs in the building. Luffy, do you remember where his room was? Asked Naruto. No, he said. All I know is that it's down a blue stoned hallway. Oh okay, they're all freckin' blue, you moron, said Naruto as they reached the second floor. Oh, meh, let's just. Luffy, Naruto suddenly stopped running as the wall on the side of them collapsed and, as in going in slow motion. They saw as Polly went to the other side, going through the wall and landing in that room. Polly, yelled Luffy as he went through that door to the room and Naruto followed him. Luffy, isn't he trying to get us arrested? Said Naruto, confused. Yay, but, you guys, Luffy and Naruto, were on either side of Polly as he was on his hands and knees, shaking badly and blood dripping from his mouth. I know, you didn't. Three shadows suddenly filled the room, their outlines large in their heads, as they came in. Luffy and Naruto saw that there was one with a bull as a head, the other as a skull, and the last, not wearing a mask, but instead a hat covering his face. Naruto's eyes widened as he tried hard to recognize the person under it. Polly, said the voice in the bull mask, nice try, but we have it. Now, the bull-masked man held up a scroll as Polly looked up at him. You bastards, he cursed as he coughed up some more blood. Polly, oi, whatever you are doing, give that scroll back to Polly right now, said Luffy, angry and looking at the bull. But its fake eyes just lifelessly stared at him before looking down as he opened the scroll. Luffy didn't know what to do, while Naruto was completely phased, drawing a conclusion to who he was looking at. Luffy watched as the bull's hands started to shake before he threw down the paper. It was a fake, asked the man in the skull mask. Ah, replied the bull, and then he looked at the three in front of him. Where is the real one? He asked. Polly laughed. It started off as a low chuckle before it got louder. The bull started to growl when suddenly, with immense speed that even Naruto couldn't see, the man had taken Polly off the ground into the air by his neck, and a couple feet away from Naruto and Luffy. Where the fuck is the blueprints? He said. Polly coughed up some more blood. Polly, yelled Naruto and Luffy at the same time. They got up, ready to attack the bull-headed man, but then was thrown to the ground and something was but on their wrists, ankles, and stomachs. Ah, what the hell is this? Said Naruto, trying to pry himself from the golden arch that prevented him from getting up. Luffy was struggling to get up and help Polly. They looked up to see the skull-headed man with some small golden arches in his hand. Let Paffy. Where the hell are the blueprints? Said the bull dangerously. Polly looked down at him, his eyes furious yet had a single joke in them. I don't know. Iceberg just told me where this one was. The bull man held Polly up there for a moment more. Polly thought he would suffocate from his stare, but then he was thrown to the ground, in between Naruto and Luffy. And golden arches were put on his ankles, wrists, and stomach. He doesn't know, asked the skull bearer. No, stated the bull man. Oi, bull man, what the hell are you doing here? And who are you? Luffy demanded. You. Naruto's voice seemed to speak louder than the others. The skull-faced man and the bull-faced man looked towards him, seeing. As he stared at the third person they had with him. But the man who was under the hat chuckled under Naruto's gaze. Are you? Naruto was suddenly kicked in his chest, a foot from the hat man pressing down. Hello, hissed the man, pressing harder down on Naruto, causing him to cough out air. Oi, stop what you are doing, yelled Luffy to the man stepping on Naruto, but no one paid any attention to him. Why the hell are you here? Said Naruto, staring as the hat man's eyes bored into him. He, because. No, don't tell him. He won't remember it since he will be dead, said the bull-headed man. What? Said Polly. Okay, should we kill them now? Asked the hat man. No, there is no point because they will die anyway, the bomb remember. Said the skull bearer. Bomb. All three on the ground said at once. Ah, so let them stay here and burn. Said the man under the hat. I like that idea better. They both looked at the bull-headed man. Hey, get us out of this, yelled Luffy, trying to pry his arms out but not getting anywhere. Neither Naruto also. Okay, she should be in Iceberg's room now. Let's go. What? Who? Robin. Aya. Luffy yelled after them as the three left the room. Smoke started to enter as Luffy was still trying to get out. Emhaman. Wait, Naruto, did you know who that guy under the hat was? Said Luffy curiously yet sweaty from the heat starting to come into the room. Yay, said Naruto a bit dazed. He's not from this world, not at all. Question mark. Kakashi and Shikamaru entered Iceberg's room through the hole in the wall Sakura and Luffy had created earlier that day. And in front of them was a surprising scene. On the ground was Iceberg, holding onto his broken arm, blood coming out of it, and on the other side of the room, near the door stood a woman, known to them as NICO Robin, their nakama. Robin, said Shikamaru. He tried to go towards her only to feel her hold on his ankles. He looked down and then saw Kakashi's feet were the same. Don't move, either of you. Both were surprised as Robin held up a pistol to them, her eyes unwavering, and showing something that made her seem like she can pull the trigger, whenever she wants. Hey, well sorry, but I thought that the ending, or the last sentence wasn't that great. I didn't know what to do and I've been weird with stories lately XD so many going on at once. I'm starting a third and it's a collaboration with a friend of mine, hehe. Anyways, I hoped you enjoyed this story even if it was a bit rushed. Review. Laughing face. Thomas drove in. Thanks XD, I'll get to reading that as soon as I can. I've been stupid these last couple days, hehe. Thanks for the review and review again, laughing face. Nothing special, just me. Haha, yay, I checked out his videos, it's okay XD, haha. You know you have to have the chapters in separate documents to upload by chapters. And then go to publish. Document monitor, type in the name, browse, make sure docx isn't where te dot or check is. It's a bit annoying but I've gotten used to it XD, hehe. Is this name the same as Quizilla or no? I wanna read your stories. Laughing face. Anyways, Kakashi will meet Lucci soon. And'll see what happens. Woot. Hehe. Review again. Laughing face. Cold blood. Hey everyone. I'm sorry for taking such a long time. My computer crashed over vacation ADN, half of my work was lost, as well as my thoughts it was horrible. And I am sorry. But here is the more action for this story. And for you Naruto fans there is some more in here. Also, important. There is a spin in the chapter. Hey, I hope you enjoy. Laughing face. I don't own One Piece or Naruto. Only my character. Which isn't mentioned lately. Cold blood. Luffy, Naruto, and Polly lay on the ground, the sounds of fire engulfing the wood filling their ears. Damn it, cursed Luffy, trying to get out of the hold of the golden arches around his hands, feet, and stomach. Naruto was doing the same thing, though still puzzled about the person he just saw. Damn it, why was it her? He thought to himself, wondering what the hell was going on now. You may as well stop trying, this is solid gold that they've got us under, sighed Polly, not doing anything. I've broken through gold before, said Luffy, now trying to pull his hands through the arches. Why would you give up now? Asked Naruto to Polly, Naruto now using a kunai to try and cut through it with one hand. If only I could use both hands. Huh, what do you mean? Asked Polly, looking over at Naruto. You know exactly what I mean, said Naruto. You had the scroll, you knew it was a fake to help Iceberg Asan, and you did help him. But now, all you're doing is giving up. Polly looked at Naruto, realizing what he was saying. Would you like it? If someone gave up on you, said Naruto, a sweat on his brow as he looked towards Polly with a half smile. Polly sat there thinking for a moment on what he was saying until throwing it away and realizing that he wouldn't like it if someone gave up on him. He was going to help Iceberg. Gah, damn it, these things are hard to get out of, said Naruto, cursing. Polly started to use his rope power, having it coil around the golden arch on his left hand before attaching it to a non-fire, secure place on the ceiling and then using all his power to pull the arch off. Oh, both Naruto and Polly looked over to Luffy, their eyes widening at how he now had both his arms out, and his body had somehow gone through the one where his stomach was, and not the only thing left were his legs. Yosh! Naruto and Polly watched as Luffy pulled his legs out, freeing himself and standing up. This feels much better, said Luffy, stretching. I can see that, Luffy, but will you help us out? Yelled Polly, annoyed. Luffy sighed as he proceeded to take off Polly's arches. While he was doing that, Naruto was getting pissed. Why would she? Damn it. Naruto pulled at his arches, anger enriching his strength by much more as one arch holding down his hand acme free. Luffy looked over, pulling out the second arch from Polly's arm, and watched as small outlines of whiskers came over Naruto's cheeks. Damn it. Naruto didn't know what was going on, but soon, one by one, the golden arches were coming off. The last one on was his right foot as he sat up and pulled it out easily. He tried to calm down, not wanting to go on a rampage, but Naruto couldn't. Naruto looked at Luffy, who was standing with Polly near the doorway. Luffy had a serious look on his face as he stared at Naruto, seeing how anger was now fueling both of their bodies. Luffy didn't know who Naruto saw earlier, but Luffy knew it was something not good. Let's go. Naruto nodded, standing up and looking at Polly. Polly, which way is it easier to go through? Asked Naruto to him, wanting to get to the person as fast as he can. It's about 6 rooms to the left, but the hallways are burning and the floors might collapse. Polly was cut off as a loud crash was heard from the left side of the room. As he looked, he saw that Luffy and Naruto had made a large hole. Is this good? Asked Luffy, looking into the other room. Polly looked dumbfounded before nodding. Then let's go. Orwa. Naruto and Luffy ran towards the wall, crashing through them with their fists, Luffy's anger being fueled by Aya being taken. Damn it. Gra. Both of them yelled as they went. Polly, who was running behind them, couldn't believe the power they had. He and the Galila workers built this place. And Naruto and Luffy were going through the walls like paper monsters, he thought as they ran through the 5th room. The wall that would enter all of them into Iceberg's room was next, and all 3 of them sprinted towards it. Gura ahhhhhh. Polly, Naruto, and Luffy all yelled and punched the wall, breaking it open and the light of that room surging into their eyes. As soon as they landed, there was another crash, and next to them came Zoro, Chopper, Sakura and Nami. Luffy, Naruto, said Nami, surprised. You guys got here. Luffy looked at her, and managed to give her a thumb up. No problem. Zoro looked over to the others, but Naruto was the one that caught his attention. Zoro followed Naruto's gaze, crossing 6 people until he reached the one Naruto was glaring at. Hi-Hin. Naruto stuttered the name. The person looked at him, brought their hands up to their hood, and took it off. revealing the reason Naruto went into Kakashi's portal in the first time. "Hinata," Naruto said finally. Luffy and the others immediately looked towards her. "Hinata?" asked Luffy. "Hinata, you're here," said Sakura shocked. "Hinata?" asked Nami, looking at the girl. No one else noticed the other people in the room, glaring at them through their masks. "Robin!" yelled Chopper. "Everyone!" He then looked towards the woman next to Hinata. She was in a long green robe, her hood down revealing her head, and next to her was an unconscious iceberg. "Iceberg!" yelled Polly. Everyone was looking in different directions, not knowing what to say or do for a moment before someone finally spoke up. "Robin, we told you. It wasn't me, they came here of their own accord." Luffy, Zoro, and Nami looked towards the man in the large bull mask. "Who are you?" said Luffy, annoyed and pissed. "What the hell are you doing? And where's Aya?" Zoro noticed as Robin sharply looked at the bull man. "Lucci, I thought it was precautions. And we never knew what you were going to do, even if you can't run away from us." Everyone could hear the smirk behind the mask. "Lucci." The bull man looked towards Polly's surprised look. "You can't be Lucci." "Hey," the man under the mask chuckled darkly, "I guess there's no point in hiding anymore." Everyone watched as the people in the mask slowly took them off. Polly gasped at how everyone who showed themselves was a good friend of his, but not anymore. It can't be. "What does it look like, Polly? You think we can be someone else?" asked Kaku, who was in the skull mask now on the ground, in a blue robe. But, you were here for 5 years. We worked together." Polly didn't want this to be true, there was no way that. "It was our mission." They looked towards Blueno. "We came here 5 years ago so we could get familiar with the people here and get close to them, needing them to trust us." Khalifa was shaking her head as she let her hair down. "But, no, why? Justice," Lucci replied firmly. No one in the room moved, everyone looking in between Polly and Lucci, Luffy getting more and more pissed off as it went on. "Then, why do you have Hinata?" Sakura yelled from across the room. Lucci turned his dark eyes on her. "Her." Lucci motioned towards Hinata. "It's more like she came to us, huh, Hinata?" "Hey." Everyone looked towards Hinata. "Hinata, what happened?" asked Sakura. But then she was met with Hinata's fierce glare that she didn't even think the shy girl who she used to know was capable of. "What happened? I got separated from you guys is what happened." It was a silent for a moment as Hinata tried to calm herself down. "When I fell into the portal Kakashi had made, Naruto came after me, grabbing my hand as we both fell. But this was pure black darkness, and it was as if the portal was sucking you in, like wanting to eat you. I was in shock for a moment, staring into the darkness as I fell, but then I know. Chick that Naruto wasn't holding onto me, I've been separated from him." Now Hinata's cold eyes fell onto Naruto's. "I fell and kept falling, not knowing where I was going and feeling hopeless, until I finally landed. I landed on cold and firm ground, not knowing where I was for a moment and needing food and water. I didn't know whether I wanted to die right there or to try and find you guys. It soon turned out that it was neither." Everyone listened closely, Zoro quickly looking at the other enemies before listening to Hinata once more. "Kaku," she lightly motioned at him, "found me there and was about to help me when I attacked him. I was on high alert and didn't want to trust anyone, I was also scared. We found for some time and then I realized how good of a fighter Kaku was and he realized the same for me. He introduced me to the world government, and after some training, I joined the CP9. But, why are you with them now? When you found us, shouldn't we have become your friends again?" said Sakura, afraid tears might pour out of her eyes. "No," Hinata replied with so much hatred, Sakura felt that her wind was cleanly swept out of her. Naruto on the other hand, was only suffering. "After my time with the CP9 and getting to work and know about them, I found out that they had to go on a mission without me. I was annoyed on why they would go without me, I was a part of CP9 right? But then, that's when they told me about her," Hinata smirked. Quote, "NICO Robin, the demon spawn, and how she was going to ruin us, the government. They told me that I was needed for later, when she finally showed up and was going to deal on the." Zoro and Nami were looking at Robin whose face was shadowed in darkness when Hinata abruptly stopped. Sakura and Naruto watched as Hinata seemed to be struggling with something. her eyes widening into what they were like before she had become cold. "Kaku," said Lucci calmly looking at Hinata. Kaku nodded as he took a needle out of his robe and started to walk towards Hinata. "Oh oi, Bluno, take hold of her," said Kaku as Bluno nodded and grabbed her arms. "What the hell do you think you're doing to Hinata?" Naruto yelled outraged. Kaku did. NT listen as he started to roll up Hinata's sleeve. Ah! Naruto crouched and attacked Kaku with high speed. Kaku's eyes slightly widened before the needle was knocked out of his hands and he moved back just in time for Naruto's punch. Bluno hadn't let go of Hinata as Naruto faced Kaku. "What the fuck do you think you were doing to Hinata?" Naruto seethed, his blonde hair starting to get pointed. "Naruto!" Sakura yelled as she saw the woman with the long blonde hair about to hit Naruto, when suddenly the wall behind Kaku broke open and Kaku and Naruto both jumped out of the way of the falling wall. "Damn it, Kakashi, why didn't we come in more quietly?" Someone yelled from the smoke. "Because I like it this way, everyone could hear Kakashi speak as his and Shikamaru's outline started to come out, easing them a tiny bit, until, Shikamaru, everyone watched as an outlined figure went towards Shikamaru, and before he could react, they saw something they couldn't believe. "Shikamaru!" yelled Nami. "TCH, Zoro halfway unsheathed one of his swords, ready to attack." None of the other CP9 members moved, Robin staying where she was and only slightly clenched her fists. The dust finally subdued and the crew saw Shikamaru on one side with Kakashi, his hand clutching his left shoulder though still standing. On the other side of the room was the Khalifa. "What the hell was that?" said Chopper, looking at Shikamaru and wondering how a punch could cause him to bleed so much. "Shigen," was all Khalifa said as she raised her finger, blood dripping. Luffy's eyes widened. "What the hell?" said Zoro. "Bluno." Then, in sudden fast motion, Hinata's shoulders were grabbed. She was shaking badly. No, but it was too late. Kaku had plunged the needle deep into her arm and had injected whatever the lethal substance was in it. Naruto launched himself at Kaku. "Naruto!" yelled Sakputting herself into action as she stopped the blonde woman from hitting Naruto. Nami looked towards Robin as Naruto was trying to punch Kaku, but for some reason he couldn't. "Robin!" Nami yelled, wanting to get her attention. The Straw Hat Crew looked towards their crewmate standing and slight shaking, until she stopped and looked at all of them. "Why are you here?" she asked, ignoring the sounds of Sakura and Naruto. "Sakura!" Kakashi yelled. "Hey!" Lucci smirked and Luffy realized then about how much he hated the pigeon head. "Because we want to know why you're leaving, Robin," yelled Luffy. "Because I don't need you anymore," she said stiffly. "What?" said Luffy. "Nami, Zoro and Chopper surprised." "But Sakura's deafening scream suddenly filled the room. "Sakura!" yelled Chopper horrified. The crew saw Sakura bleeding on the side of the room, unconscious and wounds covering her arms and torso. Luffy's eyes filled with rage, as did Naruto's. "What the hell did you do? What do you think you are doing?" led Luffy as tried to attack Khalifa when Lucci cut him off and grabbed his face. "We don't need any of you, you're just a bunch of weeds that we have to pull out." Luffy tried to get out of Lucci's grip, but realized how he couldn't. But Luffy was suddenly thrown against the wall, Zoro and Nami shocked. "Gra, Hinata!" Naruto yelled, bounding for her just as Kaku slid in front of him. Naruto was about to attack him when someone else did. "You are not doing anything." Zoro had taken out two of his swords and was holding them against Kaku, who was amazing enough to take out two of his own cheap swords. "Hey, Rarano Azoro, I've heard you have 3 swords, Kaku smirked, Zoro surprised that Kaku was holding up against him. "Gray, I don't need to use it against a person such as you." Nami saw as Kaku's eyes narrowed slightly and he was about to move, when, "Oh oi, what the hell is this?" Kaku said, still holding up to Zoro, but he could move his body much. Lucci, Bluno, and Khalifa looked towards Shikamaru. "It's my shadow," said Shikamaru smirking, raising his leg and seeing Kaku trying to resist but raised it a little. "Damn, he's tough," said Shikamaru, focusing on his shadow abilities more. TCH. Khalifa was getting pissed and made a rush towards Shikamaru, only to be stopped by Kakashi. Naruto took his chance and dived towards Hinata, only to see Hinata move away at him at an inhuman speed. What hin? Naruto was suddenly cut off as he felt Hinata's finger pushing against his neck. Naruto, ever since you let go of me, I felt useless. And now, her face twisted into a blood-curdling grin that had Nami terrified. I can finally finish you off for all those fucking years of loneliness. Ah, Luffy emerged from the rubble but Naruto paid no attention. No Hinata, you're not lonely. They've got you under Jack. Please, please Hinata snap out of it. Naruto turned around, turning back to his more normal self, and put his hands on Hinata's shoulders, wanting to get through to her, startling her. It's me. You don't. Get your fucking hands off of me. Naruto's eyes widened before he felt Hinata punch him, and not just any punch. Hinata had extended all of her 5 fingers and plunged them deep into Naruto's stomach. Naruto was shocked for a moment until he coughed up blood and then was taken from the back of his coat and thrown against the wall. Naruto! Kakashi yelled before realizing he had himself unguarded. Khalifa used her thorned whip, lashed it at Kakashi, and wrapped it around his torso, the thorns biting deep into his skin. Ah, Kakashi! Yelled Chopper and was about to go towards him when Bluno got in front of him and slapped him hard on the side, causing him to crash hard into the wall behind him, the stone falling on top of him. Chopper! Nami yelled as Bluno suddenly appeared in front of her. No! Luffy suddenly attacked Bluno, Nami moving clearly away from Bluno as he caught Luffy's punch and threw it towards the wall. Nami looked towards Robin, who was now turning away, Hinata slowly following her, drips of blood coming off her fingers. Robin! Wait! Yelled Nami, trying to go after her but Lucci had thrown a large brick in front of her, causing her to stop. The two were now on the edge of the windowsill. Robin! Luffy yelled. I'm sorry everyone. Robin looked at them with sad eyes. No, they're lying to you. They have Aya. No, Robin you can't. Luffy was reaching out to her but Lucci grabbed his hand. Nami saw as Robin faced the outside. Goodbye. No, she yelled but it was too late. Robin and Hinata were already gone. Shikamaru! Yelled Kakashi, his right eye bleeding from when Khalifa attacked him before. Before Shikamaru could react, Bluno was behind him, and stomped onto his back. Ah! He yelled in pain at the power that was in the stomp. Not only did he break a couple of ribs, but he had gone through the solid floor a couple inches. He now lay there unconscious and Kakashi gave a deadly stare to Khalifa. You asshole! Let Aya and Robin go! Yelled Luffy trying to punch Lucci as Bluno was behind Kakashi and Kaku and Zoro finally started to fight, but Zoro was somehow missing Kaku's attacks. Shigen! Kaku yelled and before Zoro knew it his finger had gone straight through his chest. Zoro couched up some blood as he struggled to stay up. Zoro! Nami yelled afraid to get into the fight when a sudden shadow overloomed everyone in the room. Khalifa and Bluno watched, Kakashi on the floor unconscious behind them for the moment. I'll just show you this once, and you'll only see it once. Everyone, including Naruto on the floor, looked up to see a giant cat man. What the fuck? Yelled Luffy pissed. Ah! Bullet! He yelled as he sent his arm at Lucci. Tekai! Lucci yelled and at the impact, Luffy's arm didn't do anything. What? Said Nami in disbelief. Luffy suddenly stopped, panting and ready to attack when his breath caught. Shigen! It seemed in slow motion as Luffy was suddenly lifted into the air, Lucci's hand going straight into him. K.H. Nami's eyes widened in horror at her captain. Lucci caught Luffy's head as he dropped him. Luffy wanted to do something, anything. But his body wouldn't respond, we were in too much pain. Hey! Suddenly, Lucci tossed Luffy like a rag doll through the wall and sent him soaring. No! Zoro yelled, trying to get up from Kaku's attack. Hey! Looks like you can't even handle me with just that, Kaku said before doing a spin kick in the air. It didn't hit him. No, but the slice in the air had hit him and sent Zoro right through the wall. Sailing out of the building they were just in. ZZOORROO. Nami yelled. She now looked as the only one that was left standing. Fuck you. Lucci looked down as Naruto grabbed his ankle. Attempting to get up, Lucci looked down at Naruto, Naruto coughing up some blood as he glared at Lucci. HMPH. Go join the others now, said Lucci as he kicked the Naruto right where Hinata had hit him. Gah! Naruto yelled as his head went first through the wall and he was soaring through the night, unconscious. And no, Nami's shaking voice caught everyone's attention. Lucci was about to step towards her but Khalifa caught him. Lucci, this place could go any time now, we have everything, let's go. She almost demanded, almost. Lucci stood for a second, looking at Nami before sending a swipe of air above her. Nami had thought he had missed for a moment before the cracking was heard and the ceiling fell onto her. The only thing that was now heard was the crackling fire as the building started to tear itself apart. CP9 left, standing from a far distance in their normal black attire. Let's go, said Lucci as he turned around and jumped over the buildings. Everyone else turned and followed. The screams of everyone trying to take out the fire slowly faded behind them, coming to only a dark and horror-filled night. Okay, so let me guess that you have a lot of questions. It's supposed to be like that laughing face, many things to be revealed in the next chapters, Hinata, Kakashi, and if there are Iyoming, spoiler. Hehehehe, hope you enjoyed this though, sorry for the update and I'll try to make the next chapter soon. Also, thanks to my reviewers. I would reply here but that I don't have time at the moment. I will reply like, Cyberly, if you get what I mean XD thanks. And please review, laughing face. Stung. Hey guys, sorry for the really late update it's just, really hard to write this story for some reason, and I don't know why. Also, none of my editors were available so, I edited this myself, I hope it's not too bad. MHRM, and not only that, this is the only story I saved from my laptop. The other ones are soon to all be deleted because of virus. I know this why not be that much to you but it's really sad TT all stories gone, sniffs. Well, I hope you at least enjoy this chapter. Stung. Chopper didn't know how, but somehow he had gained consciousness. He blinked a little before slowly getting up on his 4 legs, still in his walk point. He was panting and he could feel that his body was badly bruised, but at that moment he didn't care. Around him were Nami, Iceberg, Sakura, and Shikamaru on the ground and unconsciousness. Chopper turned towards the voice and saw Kakashi standing up. His headband was covering his Sharingan IBU. Blood was trailing down from behind it. They didn't need to say anything as they both nodded, a piece of ceiling falling in between them though neither cared. Chopper quickly yet silently went over to Nami and Iceberg and put them on his back. He looked to Kakashi and saw that he had Sakura and Shikamaru under his arm and over his shoulder. Chopper looked around, hoping to find Naruto, Luffy or Zoro somewhere but all he found were Zoro's swords on the ground. He looked towards Kakashi, but he just closed his eye and motioned his head outside. Chopper didn't understand it quite well, but knew that he had to get out otherwise the building might collapse on them. He took Zoro's swords into his mouth and jumped out through the hole Kakashi and Shikamaru had made earlier. As they flew downward, they could see all of Galilaw's workers using everything they had, throwing water at the building to calm the fire down. Hurry up, quickly get some water, we need more, West Side is tearing down. Yelling filled their ears as the two landed in the middle of the men, still panting as the men looked at Kakashi and Chopper and then who they were holding. The men around them had stopped they were doing as they made a small pathway and the two went to a tree. Chopper and Kakashi laid Nami, Iceberg, Shikamaru, and Sakura against the tree. They should be fine, said Kakashi to Chopper, not caring about the men behind him. Chopper looked up at him sideways. Are you sure? They need their wounds checked, said Chopper. Yes, but right now, we need to get Naruto, Luffy and Zoro, they could be in danger. And not only that, these men here shouldn't hurt them because you saved Iceberg too. Kakashi glanced at the men whose mouths were gaping at them. Let's go, said Kakashi as he disappeared over the wall behind them. Chopper looked at 4 against the tree and then at the men. Don't hurt them, he said slightly dangerous as he jumped over the wall after Kakashi, Zoro's sword still in his mouth, knowing that Galila workers wouldn't. The men looked at the 4 people against the tree. Come on, let's help them, said one of the men heading towards Iceberg. But, what about the pirates? Asked someone. They all looked towards them as someone was quickly wrapping Iceberg's arm. The labored breathing and disassembled words from Iceberg shook the men. Iceberg-san. Iceberg-asan, said the men. Iceberg opened his eyes and looked at the man who was bandaging him. Don't hurt them, Chi-Tre. Them, he said as he leaned his head back against the tree again and closed his eyes, though still awake. Well, don't just stand there. Help, said the man bandaging Iceberg. They yelled as they proceeded to help them. $%, $%, $%, $%, $%, $%, $%, $%. Light, huh. Wait, what? Aya's eyes fluttered open as light penetrated through her eyelids. Huh, what? As Aya opened her eyes, her surroundings became more clearer and she realized where she was. Holy shit. She moved upward, seeing that she was now in the train in the cart where the CP9 would be sitting in. What? She looked around her and saw that chains were holding her down against the chair. Why? Aya couldn't believe what was happening. The chains weren't sea stone. Is this some sort of trick? Aya took a quick look around the cart, wondering if any of the CP9 was around. All she wanted was to get out as soon as possible and be with Luffy and the crew again. With one last look, she surrounded the chains in white, crushed them, and stood up. She was about to run to the door on her left when she thought of something. Would Robin be in the other cart right now? She looked to the door on her right, trying to stare through it, but then gave up and went towards it. Opening it, she was now in between the trains. A drizzle coming onto her head. It's raining. Shit. Aya was suddenly reminded of the Aqua Laguna. Oh my god. Does the crew know about it yet? Aya brought her hands to her head. No. I gotta see if Robin is here first and get out, then I can remind them. Aya nodded, agreeing with herself as she opened the other door and peeked inside the bright cart. A quick look confirmed Robin not there. Aya quickly closed the door and looked to her left and right, sadly noting that there was no dock she can jump onto. The cart she was in was farther away than she expected. Damn it, the waves were pushing the train, making Aya's footing a bit unsteady. She looked up and saw a ladder reaching to the top of the train. Looks like I'll have to go that way. She sighed as she her hands and feet on the ladder and made her way up. As she got to the top, she jumped over the ladder and stood on the roof of the train. Aya squinted, annoyed of the drizzle that landing on her eyelashes, and wiped them off. The dock wasn't too far away, but still far. Aya sighed as she started to run, trying not to slip as she kept the dock in her sights. Whoa, as Aya jumped over the third train, something caught her ankle and she crashed to the ground. She got up on her hands and looked at the dock again, thinking that she just slipped when she heard snickering behind her. Hey, you thought you can get away. Aya looked behind her. A thin, tall man stood there. He was pale and had whiskers on his face. This was no other than Nero. Aya's eyes widened. She couldn't believe she had forgotten him. And now that she thought of it more, Frankie and Usopp would be on the train too. You know my name? He asked and then waved it off. They told me about this anyways. What, they? Aya asked. You should already know. But off that topic, you should be getting back to where you were, said Nero. Oh no, that's okay. Aya got in her fighting stance and smiled. I'll be fine going my own way. Sorry, can't let that happen. Nero smiled and then suddenly disappeared. Shit, Aya sweared out loud. She looked up to see him bouncing on air. So you knew where I was, he smirked. Stop smirking and get your ass down here. Aya was getting impatient. She needed to get back to the others fast. Aya thrust her fist out towards him, the white light coming off of it wrapping around one of Nero's ankles. She brought her fist down and he crashed hard into the top of the train. Fuck. Nero got up and glared at Aya. You'll pay for that. Try. They glared at each other before Aya thrust her fist out again, white light speeding towards Nero, but he dodged it. Aya fell to the ground, Nero having swiped her feet from under her. Ya turned over and eyes widened as Nero was about to use Shigen. She rolled over to the side just in time for him to hit the train instead of her. Aya swiftly got up to her feet while having white dart off her arms and towards Nero. Nero jumped into the air and got a pistol. He used pistols. Nero jumped on the air before flipping over her and shooting at Aya at the same time. Aya made a quick LD as the bullets sank into it before dropping to the ground. Nero was on the ground and sped towards Aya. Shigen, he yelled as his finger went through Aya's arm. She had tried to dodge but wasn't fast enough. Ah, she stumbled as he turned and went behind her, holding her in a lock. Ha ha ha, looks like you're stuck now, he said smiling. Oh yay, well I have the advantage of the devil fruit. And what can you do when holding me? Your hands and arms are incapable at the moment. Aya smirked though winced as Nero pulled her arms tighter together. Concentrate. Hey, I'm not joining the CP9 for nothing. Aya felt one of Nero's legs move before hearing a small click next to her neck. What? Heshesh. Something cold was on her neck as she heard Nero snicker. Is that a gun? Aya asked surprised. Yesh, onch no. You, Daesh. Aya desperately tried to get out of his lock. Shit. Bang. The loud sound echoed through the night, seeming to shake the waves. Aya crouched in pain as she let her powers work for her. She had made an exact replica of Nero and right now, he was fighting a confused real Nero. What the hell is this? He said as his other self took out a gun. A gun. That can't be real. Aya looked up and made her Nero click the trigger, sending a white bullet towards him. It wasn't fast, because she couldn't match the speed of a bullet, yet. Nero managed to dodge it, jumping on air, and looked at the hole it had made in the train in disbelief. Why you can't be serious? He yelled. Aya concentrated as she made her Nero flip into the air and drag Nero down. Ah, he yelled as he crashed into the train. Aya stood up again, one hand on the back of her neck while the other pointed towards Nero. Sorry, your loss. Nero looked at her with wide eyes as her Nero kicked him up into the air and to the side where there was the gap between two trains. Aya thrusted herself up and got a large hand made of her white light over her. Here's your present, she yelled as she smashed it down onto Nero. Gwa. He coughed out some blood as Aya punched him and Nero fell limp in the gap while Aya landed on the edge of the train cart, looking down at him. Ah, a wave hit the side of the train hard, Aya holding her balance but the salt water going into the cut on the back of her neck stung her. When Nero had the gun on her, she had the other Nero made behind him. And just as he pulled the trigger, with his tongue it turned out to be, the other Nero pulled his hair back and made the real Nero let go of Aya, but not before the bullet just grazed her neck. It was a bit deep and the salt was making it burn. Aya surrounded her neck in a thin layer of white and then looked ahead. The platform wasn't too far away but Aya had an idea. She started to jog towards it, careful of her footing as she held one hand up. Damn, I can't do this while running, Aya cursed to herself as she stopped and, with one hand up, thrust the white light into the air. As it wove straight up, Aya concentrated on it making letters to send a message. Luffy, I'm on the train with Robin. Each letter was taking a significant amount of power out of Aya and soon she was sweating. Be careful of the. Now the letters were starting to become extremely scrawly. Damn it, why is this so much work? Aya sighed as she let out the last few words. The white around her neck disappearing. Aqua Laguna. Aya's hand dropped down beside her like stone. She turned and was about to start running again when she saw something. On the platform a ways in front of her, there was the CP9 with Robin. And they were all staring at the sign she had just made, except for one person, Lucci. Wait, why is there another person? Aya counted how many people were wearing black and instead of 4. There were 5, not including Robin, but Aya didn't have time to think about that, right now she had to either hide or get away. Damn, Aya watched as she saw Lucci say something to the others and stay outside while everyone else went into the train, Robin giving a look of uncertainty while Frankie and Usopp looked at her wide-eyed. Damn it, she cursed, Lucci suddenly disappearing from Aya's sight and she knew he was coming for her. Aya dropped down in between the trains and opened the door, running. How am I gonna get out of this? Aya needed to go back to the others but with Lucci chasing her. She wasn't sure if she could. Just try. Aya thought of some ideas as she opened the door to the other side and went through the small passage outside till the train cart roof was over her again. All of a sudden, the door Aya was heading towards was slowly starting to open. Aya immediately stopped. Damn it. Aya looked around but all the windows were only so small that only a hand would probably fit through. The door was opening and Aya panicked. And percent 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 and. Lucci opened the door, expecting the girl to either come at him or hide. His question was answered when she didn't attack him. Lucci closed his eyes and listened for any footsteps that would be coming from the roof, but there was nothing except the pitter-patter of the rain. Now for her. And percent 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 and. Aya watched as Lucci reopened his eyes and then narrowed them, his body perfectly still but his head moving. Okay, if I don't see him he shouldn't see me. Aya moved farther back under the seat, held her breath, and closed her eyes. Don't move. Don't move. Don't. There you are. Aya took a sharp breath as she felt Lucci's hand grab her around her throat and throw her against the other side of the train wall hard. Damn. Aya looked in front of her only to see no one was there. Out of nowhere Aya was thrown to the side again. Aya opened her eyes just as Lucci appeared in front of her and she immediately put up a shield of her light. Lucci sprung back and Aya stood up, facing Lucci with her shield still up. Aya felt her power slightly draining and she knew that message from earlier was disappearing. Lucci. His eyes twitched only in the slightest. Aya didn't know what to ask him. To let Robin go. Let go of Frankie and Usopp. Never to show up again. Who is the 5th CP9 member with you here? Besides Nero. Aya was still in her fighting stance as Lucci just smirked and stood up straight, not caring about Aya very much. He closed his eyes and lifted his hat up a bit. No one you should know about. Aya was met with a fierce glare from Lucci and gasped. She didn't know why, but for some reason she was extremely afraid of Lucci right now. Aya put both her hands up and flashed a bright light while closing her eyes, at the same time sending a door of white light that way. Aya ran behind it until she made it disappear, hoping that Lucci was blind for at least a second and the message was still there. Damn it, I need to get out of here, get Robin, Frankie, and Usopp out, and back to the crew. Aya reached her hand out to the door, about to take hold of it when suddenly, everything seemed to stop. Lucci was standing right behind her as his hand grabbed onto Aya's wrist and threw her backwards to the ground. The impact made Aya cough up blood as Lucci stepped on her other hand, hard. Aya felt pain course through her as he stepped onto her arm and he pulled her other one upwards. She didn't want to scream, she didn't want to give him any source of pleasure from her screaming. Aya bit her lip trying not to yell, piercing her lips. Do you really think you can get away, let alone defeat me? Asked Lucci looking down at her blankly. Hey. Lucci's eyes narrowed and he stepped on her arm harder. Aya thought it was going break. Why did you laugh? He demanded in a blank tone. Aya looked towards Lucci, pain coursing through her yet smiling. Because you are going to be beaten. Lucci stepped on her arm even harder. Aya didn't dare yell as she held her mouth shut. No one can or will, he seethed. Oh yeah, Luffy and the crew will come after you, you will fight them, and lose. How you killed an entire village's hostages when you were younger, how you beat up the pirates and killed them all, in the end calling that mass murder justice. Lucci pulled up her arm fast and hard before dropping it down again. Aya felt her arm dislocate. Lucci got down on a knee and glared at her. How did you know that? Aya couldn't take this, her power was gone. The message was gone, her arms were hurting, it was hurting her brain to not scream. Well, that's not your place to know, Aya said with slightly blood-strained eyes and a small smirk. Lucci looked ready to punch her in that moment when the door behind him opened and Khalifa appeared. Lucci, she said slightly surprised. Lucci looked behind him, noting how the rest of the CP9 was behind her. He stood up and composed himself, taking his hat, which had fallen to the ground and putting it back on his head, letting go of Aya's arm. Aya's arm thumped to the floor and the impact made her slightly whimper. This girl, it looks like she is more useful than we thought, said Lucci motioning to Aya. Khalifa and Kaku, who peeked over her shoulder, looked at the girl on the ground. Her? Asked Khalifa. Aya, she actually confused me, I have never met her and yet she knew my name, said Kaku scratching his head. Khalifa looked at him. Can you move more inside please? Asked Bluno from outside. Khalifa looked at Lucci. So should we keep her for information? Asked Khalifa. TCH, I would never give you information, Aya spat from the ground, panting and looking at the ceiling, now on her back. We should. She somehow knew my past when it's only in one record, Lucci said. I know what she has. The voice came from behind Kaku, everyone looking towards him. Huh, Aya ought she heard that voice from somewhere. Khalifa, Lucci said, and she nodded and moved further in, though not past Lucci, and to the side to let everyone else in, closing the door behind them. Once everyone was in, Aya, who was still looking at the ceiling, heard Robin's voice. Lucci, what the have you done to Aya? She yelled as a frightful tone. Aya moved her neck and looked at Robin, slightly smiling. Hey Robin, Aya said as she looked at the rest of the CP9, and then her eyes landed on one, her own eyes widening in confusion and fear. Hinata, Aya said, surprised. Aya, Hinata said in a cold voice. Aya, realizing that she now had her legs, tried to use them, but Lucci stepped on one of them. She inhaled sharply as she attempted to kick Lucci with her other leg, but twisted her leg towards a way it's not supposed to go, Aya gasping in pain. Lucci, Robin yelled, trying to get out of Blueno's grasp but could not. Robin, Lucci glared at her, Robin's eyes wide with fear. Lucci then turned to look at Hinata. Aya, this girl, no, Aya yelled, lifting her head up to look at Hinata. Hinata. Don't. What the hell? Aya didn't know what to do. Don't tell them. If you do. Aya was cut off as something hit her head hard and everything turned black. Finally, sighed Khalifa as she brushed her hair behind her ear. Robin looked the other way, biting her lip as she tried not to see Aya on the ground in front of her. Hinata, demanded Lucci as the other CP9 members listened in. Aya is a girl from another world. She came to my world from hers. And then joined the Straw Hats. Kakashi sent them back to the Grand Line. In her world, we were all fictional characters and stories were made about us. Our past, future, and weaknesses of everyone, this girl knows about, said Hinata. How do you know all this? Asked Kaku. She talked about it in our world. I overheard her talk to the Straw Hats about it. She told their entire pasts but not their futures. So, if she, read, Kaku not disliking that term, about us, then she knows what will happen now, at E9's lobby, and even later. Asked Kaku. Yes, Hinata said to him before looking at Lucci again, meeting his blank stare. Okay, said Lucci, getting everyone's attention, then we keep her until there for more information. The CP9 members nodded when they felt the train jerk forward. Let's go, Blueno said, pushing Robin slightly. Our cart is 2 more down, he said. Lucci nodded and grabbed Aya, throwing her over his shoulder. Lucci, fix her arm, said Robin as they walked. Lucci didn't say anything as they went to their cart and sat down, Lucci putting Aya next to him as Khalifa came over and tied her in a sea stone rope. Blueno was still pushing Robin into the next cart when she stopped and turned to Lucci. Wait, Lucci, fix her arm, Robin pleaded. The CP9 looked at her while Lucci glared. He closed his eyes as he faced Aya and placed his hand on her shoulder, swiftly fixing her arm. He turned again and glared at Robin. She gulped before looking once more at the unconscious Aya and then was pushed into the next cart, where she was to sit by herself. Bluin took her to the next cart and sat her down, taking the sea stone handcuffs off of her. Robin started but then stopped. No, she wasn't going to give up the Straw Hat crew. She may be able to help Aya. But she didn't want to get the rest of the crew involved. Blueno turned around and looked at her for a moment before turning again, and going back to the CP9 cabin. Leaving Robin to sit air and grieve about what may happen in the future. Hey, I am in a bit of a better mood, but it's probably just sleep. As you just read, this chapter involves more of Aya and CP9 and stuff. I felt like you guys may have forgot about her for some reason and that she wasn't getting much attention, so I decided to put this in. Aya's awesome XP more will be coming soon. Sanji, Kiba, Frankie, Usopp, Naruto, Zoro, Luffy, hey. We'll see what happens in the next chapter. Cheeky smiley face. It would be a great help if you review, by the way, smiley face, please do. Message. Naruto Shippuden vs. One Piece Chapter 15. Nami awoke, the yelling around her waking her from her sleep. Huh, what? Nami flinched as she tried to sit up. She looked at the top of her right arm and saw a bandage wrapped around it. Oomph. She raised her other arm slowly and put it over the bandage, letting her hand cool her skin just a bit. You are awake. Nami looked in front of her and on the opposite tree was Iceberg. Yay. Nami looked to her left, and was slightly shocked to see Shikamaru and Sakura unconscious next to her. Shikamaru, Sakura, Chopper and Kakashi got out of there just in time. Now Nami, I have to tell you something about Robin. Nami looked at Iceberg and noticed how forward he was. Everything was suddenly coming back to her fast and hitting her mind like bricks. Robin, Aya, what happened to them? And where are the others? Kakashi and Chopper went to get Naruto, Luffy, and Zoro, so don't worry. Just listen. Iceberg looked at Nami and she nodded, knowing that if she didn't find out what he had to say, something could go horribly wrong. Really? Said Nami, shocked. Yes, she was only chased and was finally captured, Iceberg said gravely. Nami's hand flew to her mouth, not believing that Robin was actually doing this. Do you know about Aya? She asked hopefully. Unfortunately no, I haven't even heard of her. I can ask around, but Nami shook her head, stopping Iceberg. I think I may know why, she said shakily. Nami as she tried to stand up. I have to find Luffy. Iceberg watched as she put one hand on the tree to steady herself. Are you sure? He asked. Yes. She regained balance and she looked at Sakura and Shikamaru. When they wake up, can you tell them to wait here? She asked. Iceberg nodded. Nami looked at the wall next to her and down, seeing an opening that led out to the rest of Water 7. With a determination to get Luffy and the others, she sprinted, knowing now that they had to get Robin and Aya back no matter what. Zoro, MHRMMM. CH Chopper, in his heavy point, looked around the empty town until he saw a pair of legs sticking out of a chimney. Zoro. Chopper jumped over a small gap and onto the roof that the chimney W. I'm okay, I'm just stuck here and can't get out. Chopper nodded, grabbed his legs, and started to pull them. Stop, that hurts. Chopper let go of his legs. Sorry, Zoro, but that's the only way to get you out. Hold on, let me put this down. Chopper put down Zoro's sword that he strapped to his back. Zoro's ears perked up as he heard a soft clang from outside the chimney. Oi, Chopper, is that Kidetsu? Asked Zoro. Chopper looked down at the sword he just put down, thinking that Zoro probably had his two other swords. Yay, if you have your other swords that is. Yay I do, can you hand me him? Asked Zoro. Sure. Chopper picked up the sword and was about to give it to the small hand that was sticking out when something behind Zoro caught his attention. Wwwwaa. Chopper, what's wrong? He said, worried that something might have happened to Chopper. There's a wave coming. Big one. Chopper held onto Zoro's sword like a teddy bear as the wave came closer. Zoro could hear rushing water moving closer to them as Chopper whimpered. Chopper, give me Kidetsu quick, yelled Zoro. Chopper got out of his trance as he threw the sword and Zoro caught it blindly. Sanjyu Roku pound who? Zoro yelled as he cut the chimney in half and fell out onto the roof. Chopper, immediately seeing that he came out, became more serious. Rumble, he yelled as he ate a rumble ball. Jumping point. Zoro, grab on, he yelled as he jumped up and onto the next building, with Zoro holding onto his arm. The wave was right behind them, but neither of them looked back in order to not lose time. As Chopper jumped to the next building, Zoro looked up and saw words in the air. Aya, he thought as he saw that they were white and were slowly becoming illegible. Naruto. Kakashi looked at the wall in front of him. He was in a building where from farther away, he could see the obvious orange. That was Naruto. Naruto was in between a wall, half his body on one side and his other half on the other side. Kakashi, said Naruto, surprised. You're here. I could see you from a mile away. He looked to his left and saw a hallway so that he could face the front side of Naruto rather than the back. Naruto, he said as he went through the hallway, can you get out of there? Asked Kakashi. He didn't want to admit it, but Naruto looked pretty funny. Yay. Just Hold on, Naruto's face turned red as he tried to move his arms but he couldn't. Kakashi moved towards him when something caught his eye. While Naruto was still trying to get out, Kakashi went towards the window and saw in front of him on a roof was Nami, yelling something to Luffy. He was about to listen in when something caught his eye and he took a cautious stance. Naruto, yelled Kakashi, his eyes widening at the GE wave that was about to land on top of them. Get out now. Naruto tried harder. Why? What's wrong? Said Naruto. Kakashi then realized why no one lived in this area, because it was all underwater, and just before the water had receded to make a humongous wave. Naruto, just hurry up or we may not make it out of here alive. What? TCH, okay, move. Kakashi got in front of Naruto and charged towards him. What? No 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 no. There was a mini explosion and dust surrounded the two as Naruto was on the ground coughing. Huh, you got yourself out because you were scared I would hit you, Kakashi scoffed. No I didn't. Hey. Kakashi grabbed Naruto and threw him over his shoulder as he ran out of the building and onto the roof of one in front of him, running towards Water 7. If we get to a high enough area, we should be able to avoid the wave, he thought, as he looked up to see people waving and yelling. Oh my god, that wave's huge. Kakashi, Nami and Luffy are still there, yelled Naruto as the wave was about to fall on them. Luffy, I'm on the train with Robin. Be careful of the Aqua Laguna. Aya, Kakashi said. Huh, Aya. Kakashi didn't answer, watching as the sign started to blur. Damn, what's happening here? The wave she was talking about was probably the Aqua Laguna. I have to get to that dock, and fast, he thought, as he saw Chopper and Zoro heading towards the dock as well. Hold on Naruto. Wah-ah. Kakashi sped as Naruto yelled behind him. Nami looked around until she finally found him. She ran over as close as she could get and then stared at the figure in between the two buildings. She sucked in a large breath before she yelled. Luffy, you idiot, what are you doing up there? Luffy's eyes widened when he heard Nami call behind him and tried to move, but couldn't. Ny Nimi, he yelled back, you're behin, me. IWSH flown by de Pigeon guy and got shuck in thish convenienced PS lace. Nami couldn't help but start to cry as he image of Robin and Aya filled her mind. Don't joke around. While you were screwing around, Robin was taken away. And before, I think Aya was trying to save her and Nami stopped as the tears were too much. She didn't know if the CP9 had gotten her, but that's the only explanation that she had fit with Iceberg. For all of US, Robin is going to die for US. Nami sobbed uncontrollably. She saw CRIFICED herself to protect US from the government, even with knowing that she might get killed. Luffy's eyes scrunched together, finally understanding it all. And Aya, she knew about this all already. And when she went to help her, I think something went wrong. The image of Aya's smiling face filled Luffy's mind. So, Aya went to help her on Sharon, and sacrificed herself for Robin. Nami nodded. Yes. Luffy felt tears come to his eyes. And, Robin was lying to us after all. Nami nodded again, her hand rubbing her eyes. Yes. Thank goodness. Nami noticed the wave behind Luffy as did he. Luffy, she yelled. Don't worry, he yelled back at her. I won't let Robin or Aya die. Luffy looked at the wave in front of him as anger filled his body. The CP9 taking Aya and Robin away from him. There was no way in hell he was going to let them do that. They were going to catch them, no matter what. Grr. RRRR. RRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRR two parts. Nami looked at Luffy, who was now in the middle of the two crashing buildings, when suddenly the wave behind him seemed to fill up her whole view. "Luffy!" she yelled as he started to fall. Luffy looked at her and stretched his arm out to her, circling it around her waist as he stretched his other arm to a pole behind her. "Let's go!" he yelled, as he sprang forward and onto the building before stretching his arms and leaping onto building after building. In front of him, he saw Kakashi holding Naruto and jumping onto a high ledge before setting Naruto down, and Zoro already there. Luffy caught onto the ledge and sprang himself and Nami forward, letting go of her as they both hit the ground around the others. Luffy looked up towards Kakashi, who was standing and looking at something. He looked towards Zoro, who was also looking up. "What are you guys?" "It's Aya," said Zoro. Luffy's eyes widened as he looked up and saw a message there. Luffy, Nami yelled. "Ah!" Chopper screamed, and everyone didn't have a chance before they were all suddenly taken underwater. "Oh no, you guys!" Polly yelled, but it was too late. Damn it. He stuck his arms out and threw out 6 ropes, each holding onto a straw hat and the other 2 while the wave struck. He held onto the rope as tightly as he could as they slid a little, sing his hands to bleed from the friction. Polly. He heard the workers yell, but he paid little attention to them as the wave started to lessen its torment and then pull away. Polly then pulled with all his might as the 6 members of the crew flew out and fell next to him. Luffy looked up at him, panting. Don't thank me now. We have to get to a higher place. Quick. Luffy nodded. Grabbing Nami, he followed Polly with his remaining strength, as did Zoro, with Chopper holding onto his face, and Kakashi got to the others and finally collapsed onto the ground, their faces owing exhaustion from the wave and their heavy breathing filled the air. Aya's message. Luffy sat up cross-legged, as he looked up to where he saw the message. Though there was a problem. "Now, Aya," he said. He couldn't read the sign now. It was too blurry and it was as if it were paint streaming down the wall. Suddenly, the message dispersed, and all that was left was a small area in the sky. Hat was just a shade brighter than the rest. "Aya," he said more loudly this time. What happened to Aya?" he said, concerned. Kakashi calmed his breathing and looked up at the sky where the message had been. "She may have run out of power," said Kakashi. "She can't run out of power," said Luffy. "She would have if she was attacked," said Nami, getting up on her hands, water dripping from her hair. "How did it disappear?" "It looked like it had a mini explosion," said Luffy with his eyes wide. Nami looked down, worried. "Then, she may have been attacked," said Kakashi. "Attacked? How?" "We have to go help her," said Luffy, starting to stand. "Wait, Luffy, we have to think this through," said Nami. UHHMRMGHMMMRHMMAH. God damn it, Chopper. Everyone looked at Zoro, who was holding a fear-stricken Chopper. Zoro put him on the ground, and then evened out his breathing before looking at the others. "Did anyone get to see what the message said, by the way?" "I couldn't read it that well. It said, Luffy, I'm on the train with Robin. Be careful of the Aqua Laguna." Kakashi said. "She knew about the Aqua Laguna," said Polly. Naruto looked at him. "Was that giant wave it? The Aqua Laguna?" he asked. "Yay. It comes every year and it gets bigger with it. This one was the largest one we've had yet," said Polly. "Aya knew about the Aqua Laguna because she read about it before," said Nami, thinking. "She's on the train with Robin, and Robin is with the CP9, said Kakashi. "She must have gotten attacked by them," seethed Naruto. The painful memory of Hinata came into his mind. Hinata is with them," said Kakashi. "Why? We have to get them back, now," said Luffy, his fists tightening. "Here, I have a plan," said Polly, and everyone listened in. "Nami, Kakashi, and I will go to the trains to see if we can stop it." Polly waited to see if anyone would interrupt, but no one did. "Luffy, Naruto, Chopper, and Zoro will. How about us?" Everyone looked up at 2 dark figures on a roof. "Who's that?" asked a Galila worker aloud. The 2 figures disappeared before reappearing next to Kakashi. "Sakura, Shikamaru," said Kakashi, slightly surprised. "Yay, sorry we were unconscious for a while. But when we woke up we came here immediately with Iceberg. He wanted to get you guys and tell you something," said Sakura. "What did he want to say?" asked Nami. "We don't know, but he said to get everyone there as fast as possible," Shikamaru said. Everyone nodded. "Okay," said Zoro. "But we should still keep the groups," said Kakashi. "We still may have a chance at stopping the train." "Yes, okay." Zoro, Chopper, Naruto, and Luffy go with Shikamaru and Sakura. "The 3 of us are going to the train station." They nodded, and Polly waved to the Galila workers. "Okay, you guys, get the boats and get us to the train station as fast as you can." The Galila workers yelled before running to the docks. Luffy's eyes were shadowed as he started to follow the others towards Iceberg. Aya, please be safe, was all he could think.